Am I the asshole for telling my morbidly obese patient that we need a team of people to help roll her to avoid hurting our backs? Hi, med-surg nurse here. I got a new patient last night. She is a 450-ish lb woman in her 30s who just had a major surgery. She is also a body positivity influencer who wanted to record everyone to document her journey. We had to explain to her that in our state, she cannot record any hospital employees without their consent, and all of us are refusing consent because we do not want to be in her videos. Anywho, she needed to use the bedpan. She could not lift her hips, and her legs were too wide for me to wiggle the bedpan between them. I explained to her that she would have to roll on her side, and then I would place the bedpan under her, and then she would roll back. She tried to roll but couldn't do it. I told her no big deal, I will go find a few staff members to help and we will roll you. The only person who could help at the time was the CNA, who is pregnant. I explained to the patient that we just don't have enough staff free right not to roll her, it's just me and the CNA, so we will have to wait a little bit for more people to be free. She huffed, and asked why the two of us can't just roll her. I explained that I don't want either of us to hurt our backs, especially not my pregnant CNA, and that it would be safer for us to wait for more people. Side note, this patient sucked at rolling herself. She was dead weight, putting in little to no effort. She was pissed at me saying that, and she wanted to speak to my charge nurse. She said I hurt her feelings. My charge nurse ended up being part of the team that helped me roll her, and while we were doing it she basically scolded the patient and said that her feelings are not more important than us not getting injured. She still thinks I'm an asshole, and I happily offered her the phone number she can call to file a formal complaint. Those do literally nothing, by the way. Ex-husband begs to come back after miserable life. I laughed and called it karma. Am I the asshole? My ex-husband divorced me 3 years ago. When we got married we agreed that we weren't going to have kids. I never wanted them, he said he didn't really want them. So yeah. 4 years into our marriage he changed his mind, and he chose to divorce me because I wouldn't go back on our agreement and give him children. I'm not really a big believer in divorce, I was ready to be married for the rest of our lives. We had a good marriage, but I guess he didn't love me that much if he picked kids that didn't even exist over me. Right after our divorce he almost instantly remarried. He got his new wife pregnant right away, and they have 2 kids together. In the 3 years since then I've finished my higher education, and have accepted a high-paying job in healthcare. Life has actually been pretty good for me, and I've gotten to the point where I think I'm ready to start looking to settle down. Yesterday morning my ex-husband showed up on my doorstep crying. I figured something pretty awful must have happened so I let him in, and got him a drink. He started going on and crying about how awful his life is. He apparently hates his 2 kids, one of them is disabled and maybe autistic and he has no money due to the kid being so expensive. His wife yells at him all the time, she got fat after having kids and doesn't want to lose weight, she never puts out, he can never go anywhere anymore. He said that he wants a divorce from his new wife and he regrets ever leaving me. He asked if I would take him back, and said he learned his lesson. I couldn't help but laugh at him. It was so pitiful. His audacity also kind of astounded me. I told him that with 2 kids to support and his lack of loyalty he is not a catch, and I definitely won't take him back. And maybe this was karma for divorcing me. He was pissed, called me an asshole, and said he thought I would be more supportive and would at least turn him down nicely. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for stepping in to defend a teenage cashier after a rude customer made her cry at the supermarket? So, this happened yesterday, and I'm still wondering if I overreacted. I, 35F, was doing my usual weekly grocery shopping at a local supermarket. It was a busy afternoon, and the line at the checkout was pretty long. I was waiting patiently when I noticed the woman in front of me, probably mid-50s, becoming increasingly agitated as the teenage cashier, who couldn't have been older than 17, was scanning her items. The cashier seemed a bit flustered. I could tell she was probably new, making a few mistakes here and there, but nothing serious. The older woman, however, was not having it. She started muttering under her breath, rolling her eyes, and tapping her foot. Finally, when the cashier accidentally scanned an item twice and needed to call for a supervisor to void it, the woman lost it. She started berating the poor girl, saying things like, "How hard can it be to do this job? You can't even do basic tasks, you're wasting people's time." She just kept going on, and the more she yelled the more flustered the cashier got until she started tearing up. I stood there for a second, hoping the lady would cool down, but she didn't. The poor cashier was clearly trying her best to keep it together. That's when I stepped in. I said to her, "You don't have the right to treat someone like that. She's doing her best, and it's just a mistake. If you're so unhappy, maybe you should try working like her for a day and see how easy it is." The woman looked stunned and told me to mind my own business. I replied, "It is my business when you're making a kid cry over something as stupid as groceries." The cashier's supervisor had arrived by then and stepped in to handle the situation, and the woman stormed off still muttering and cursing. After she left, the cashier thanked me with teary eyes, but a couple of people behind me in line gave me looks like I was the one who had done something wrong. Now I'm second-guessing myself. So Reddit, AITA for telling her off? Karen demands to move in after blowing all her money on travel. Am I a jerk for refusing? So, I, 32M, possess a modest 3-bedroom house that I've been paying off for the past decade. It's not fancy, but it's mine and I'm proud of it. My sister, 29, and her husband, 31, are typical free-spirited individuals. They've always talked about leaving the rat race and enjoying life to the fullest, all that. They finally got it done a few months ago. They sold their house during a soaring market, expecting the profit to fund a year-long trip. They assumed they could make ends meet by traveling cheaply, staying in hostels or Airbnbs, and doing odd jobs on the side. At first, they stayed in fancier places and ate out frequently, believing they had enough of a cushion. However, they ran out of money after just 2 months. They misjudged how quickly bills would add up, especially with 2 children aged 8 and 5 to feed and care for. Now that their money has been depleted, they have chosen to discontinue full-time travel but do not want to settle down just yet. Instead, they wanted to stay with me rent-free for the next 10 months while they figure things out. They say they'll attempt to take occasional trips if they discover really good discounts, but they mostly want to stay at my house. I told them no. My house isn't big enough. I don't want the interruption, and I don't think it's fair for them to rely on me because their plan failed. I offered to help them find a cheap rental or even cover some of their expenditures for a few months until they could get back on their feet, but it wasn't enough. My sister yelled at me, accusing me of being selfish and jealous of their adventurous lifestyle. To make matters worse, my parents agree with her, claiming that family should support family and that I am being very rigid. My parents live in a small apartment and cannot accommodate my sister's family, which is probably why they are putting her on me. They stated I don't grasp the importance of experiences and should be more helpful. Some of our mutual acquaintances have also advised me to be more understanding, but I believe it is utterly ridiculous to expect me to house their entire family for nearly a year simply because they did not plan adequately. Am I the asshole for telling my trans friend she needs to disclose that she's trans to the man she's seeing? Using a throwaway account for this. I have a friend, known her for years, since we were young and she was pre-transition. We're older now. She's had work done, and been on hormones since she was a teen. If you met her, I can honestly tell you, you'd never guess she was trans. However, she does still currently have a penis. She tends to go with men who are fully aware she is trans. She had said that she was trans on her dating profile. She's moved away now, we still talk. She eventually told me she met a guy around 2 months ago, they're dating. She then went on to tell me that she met him on a new dating site she was trying out. I thought nothing more of it. The next day she messaged me, and we were talking more about him, and then she told me some things, including that he has no idea that she's trans. She didn't disclose it on this new dating profile, and she just hasn't told him. I asked her why and also said, "Surely you've slept together." No. She's often slept with men she's dated by now, so I just assumed. She said no, and that he's being patient on the sex, she's making him wait, but to keep him sweet she's sucked his cock and given him handjobs a few times. I then just outright said, "You need to tell him," and she said I will, but I want him to fall for me a little more first. This isn't like her, and I was dumbfounded to be honest. I told her you can't wait for that. You need to tell him, sooner rather than later. 2 months is already a while, and he may be disappointed or even get mad if he finds out. And she said, why would he be mad if he really likes me? And I just said, respectfully, and I'm sorry, but you still currently have a penis. He's a totally straight man, who thinks he's dating a biological woman. She didn't like me saying that. I get it, but I think it's important that she tell him. I tried to explain to her that this could also be dangerous for her in not telling him sooner. You never know how this guy might react. Not every man is so open to trying that out. Some men like strictly pussy, and it would appear that this guy thinks their pussy is waiting for him in her pants. She sent him underwear pics where she's tucked tightly. Honestly, you would never know. I think it's a dangerous game, and I told her that 2 months is too long, and I think she was silly to wait this long. But now she's freaked out and worried. AITA? I'm basically here seeking whether I was right or wrong in my brutal honesty. Am I the asshole for refusing to change my makeup and style because my friend thinks her husband has a crush on me? Original post. My 29F friend, 31F, has told me that her husband, 35M, has a crush on me and has recently told her that he fantasizes over me. This already makes me feel very awkward, but now she has asked if I can stop wearing makeup and wear baggy clothes around him. We went out for dinner last night at a reasonably expensive restaurant with a few others, 7 of us in total, and she texted me when I got home saying she was angry at me for looking hot, after she asked me to not wear makeup. She's my friend and I want to do the right thing, but there's nothing I could wear that is baggy that would have suited the restaurant we were in, Michelin star. My style is very conservative and I was wearing a very average dress with heels. I've written out several responses ranging from an apology to being quite rude, but wanted to check my thoughts here before I go back to her. I don't want to make life difficult for her, but what she's asking for feels unreasonable. AITA. Edit 1. Thank you so much for all of your responses. It's 4:21 a.m. here in the UK, so I will write out and send a response tomorrow and will update you all on here. Sorry I can't respond to everyone. I didn't expect so many responses. Edit 2. While I was reading your responses, he just liked an old Instagram pic from way back. Bikini pic. He is now blocked. OOP's commenter. Top. Anyway, total NTA. For one thing, I don't think it's possible to dress appropriately for a nice restaurant without looking hot to someone who already finds you attractive. And more generally, as long as you're not hitting on the husband, or intentionally dressing provocatively to catch his attention, which it sounds like you're not, then this is a her problem, not a you problem. Here's another point: why on earth did she tell you that her husband has the hots for you? Completely inappropriate. This is something to be handled within the marriage. OOP. I'm not sure why she told me either. The first time she said it was cute, that he had a crush on me, then she started getting a bit more detailed about it. OOP is voted NTA update. Same post. Final update. Edit 3. I responded with the following. Sorry it's taken me a while to reply, but I wanted to consider this properly and not react emotively. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I don't think it's fair or reasonable to ask me to change how I look because of your husband. My advice is to speak to a husband's name and work on your relationship, because projecting your issues onto me isn't going to help you, but it will damage our friendship. You have nothing to be insecure about. You're the most beautiful person inside and out I've ever met. I'm here for you if you want to talk through it, but ultimately I can't help it if I'm smoking hot. Just kidding. Xex. 5 minutes after I pressed send, she knocked on my door. She was already on her way, with a bunch of flowers, and cried and gave me a hug while apologizing. She told me they were having problems and it was wrong of her to take it out on me. We've had a long chat and I'm going to be there to support my friend. Thank you all for your input, you all helped so much. Additional info: I've had a lot of people message me asking if they can post my story elsewhere, and a couple of reporters, etc. I really don't want to exploit my friend's marriage, so I don't mind if you use it, but please keep me anonymous. Also, WTF. I can't believe so many people care or have an opinion about my boring issue. Comments. Comment 1. Love that the friend was already on her way to apologize. With flowers. She knew she messed up, probably in a moment of emotion. Sounds like she has a husband problem. Bit of a boring update, but that's how you know it's real. Hope their friendship stays strong and the friend and the nasty husband either get counseling or call it quits. Gross that he's creeping on his wife's friend's ancient bikini pics. Comment 2. I hope the friend gets a divorce and finds a partner who only has eyes for her. I hope she and OOP remain close friends with a healthy friendship. I hope the husband stubs his toe on every corner in his living space. Comment 3. I hope this really is the end. Seems like the root issue is still far from resolved. Years after my brother evicted me for his growing family, he now wants to move into my home. Am I the asshole for refusing to help? Alright, this is a long one, and I honestly need an outside perspective. Several years ago, I, 28F, was living with my older brother Tom, 37M, and his wife Karen, 34F. I had just graduated from college, had a pretty bad job at the time, and was struggling to make ends meet. Tom had a house with a guest room, and he told me I could stay with them for a while until I got back on my feet. I was beyond grateful, and I made sure to help out however I could, cooking, cleaning, buying groceries when I could afford it. Fast forward about 6 months. I finally landed a decent job and was able to contribute more financially. I was on my way to becoming independent. Around this time, Karen got pregnant. At first, everything seemed fine, but then Karen started dropping subtle hints that they needed more space for the baby. The hints soon turned into direct conversations about how they needed the guest room for a nursery. Tom assured me that I could stay until I found a new place, but Karen was clearly becoming more agitated by the day. Then, one afternoon, I came home from work to find all my stuff packed up and sitting in the hallway. Tom told me that Karen had decided they needed me out ASAP. No discussion, no warning. He tried to soften the blow by saying they'd help me with a security deposit on a new place, but it was humiliating and hurtful. I ended up couch surfing for a couple of months until I could afford a small studio apartment. It was a really tough time for me, both emotionally and financially. I'll never forget the feeling of being thrown out of my own brother's house like that. Fast forward to now. Tom's life has taken a turn. His business went under, and they're having financial issues. Last week, he called me out of the blue, sounding desperate. They're being evicted from their house and have nowhere to go. He asked if he, Karen, and their 2 kids could stay with me for a few months, while they get back on their feet. Here's the thing. I'm doing much better now. I have a good job, a nice apartment, and I've been saving for a house. I can technically accommodate them, but the thought of letting them move in after what they did to me years ago just doesn't sit right. I told Tom I needed to think about it, and ever since, he's been sending me guilt-trippy texts about how family is supposed to be there for each other, and how they have nowhere else to go. Even my parents have gotten involved, saying I should let them stay with me because they're family, and what happened years ago is in the past. But here's the kicker. Karen hasn't apologized once for how they treated me. Not a word. She didn't even acknowledge it when we spoke on the phone. It's like they expect me to just forget about it and welcome them with open arms. I'm torn. Part of me feels like I should help because they are my family, but the other part of me feels like this is karmic justice. Am I the asshole for refusing to let them stay with me after what they did? Or should I let the past go and help them out in their time of need? Karen demands a new car after watching TikTok push present trend, sparking major marriage conflict. After 5 years of marriage, my wife is currently carrying our child. She emailed me a TikTok video of a woman debating the idea of a push gift on a podcast a few days ago. I originally had no idea what it meant, but when I searched it out I discovered it's essentially a thank you present to the woman bearing your child. To me this idea appeared really weird. Although your husband's gratitude for what women go through during pregnancy and childbirth is much sought for, the materialistic element stopped me. The woman on TikTok went on and on about how it's a body for a body, implying that the man should get a permanent tattoo on his lower body as well as offer her a house and a car as special gifts. Those expectations struck me as rather reasonable, a little vengeful, and overdone for my taste. Couples make the united decision to bring a child into the world. In our situation, my wife wants to be a parent too, thus she was not under pressure to be pregnant. Thinking that would be the end of it, I just answered the TikTok with laughing emojis and went on. I figured she submitted the video as satire, something like, "Oh look how ridiculous this is." I reacted to the video while she was in the other room. She came to me saying she wanted me to tap into my own resources to acquire a car specifically for her, even though she does not anticipate a tattoo or an elite house. Almost startled, I looked at her and started giggling. Though I knew I was mistaken, my wife and I agreed on how foolish individuals sometimes are. I prodded her to find out whether she was really serious. She grew really agitated and stated she indeed wanted a real push present. Her gift is, I reminded her, the realization of a healthy baby and parenting itself. Materially speaking, I'll probably send her a Mother's Day card, a day off, some jewelry she likes under $700, but nothing more. I pointed out that our automobile, not only hers, will be hers if she truly wants an extra car. She argued it was insufficient given what she would go through. She persisted and inquired as to whether I felt she was unworthy. She is worthy as my partner and the mother of my child, but she also has to be reasonable and realize that neither of us is personally deserving of what she is requesting. She needs to control her expectations, I remarked, since I don't see why she feels qualified for that. It came out wrong, but I meant not to discount her personally. She is crying about the argument right now and is not talking to me. I heard her on the phone berating me to her sister. But under no circumstances would I ever think of giving her a car. She's hurting right now, so I feel guilty. Yet I'm not evil for giving her a reality check. My push present was sushi soon after the birth of the small one. I couldn't have any and really craved sushi all during my pregnancy. Not that jerk. I'm expecting and my spouse is going to present me with birthstone jewelry. I'm also giving him a watch with an engraving. Those TikTok videos ruin relationships totally. Once she wouldn't create her brother-in-law a boo basket for Halloween, my sister-in-law almost left my brother-in-law. Why women need relationship advice from TikTok is beyond me. Relationships are being destroyed at frightening speed on social media. Am I the asshole for refusing to split my college fund with my dad's affair child after he pressured my family to give him a share? Original post. My father dropped a big bomb on our family last year when he revealed that he had a secret son from his affair years ago. After my mom found out and gave him the ultimatum, he cut things off with the mistress and she moved away until last year when she introduced him to their son Hank. I really don't give a damn about his latent father instinct since he didn't give his other family any consideration when he broke the news. Thank God my mom divorced him and now neither my brother Connor, M18, sister Sophia, F15, or I want anything to do with him anymore. Here's the thing though. We have a shared college fund that my mom's parents set up for us when we were little. My parents contribute almost half of the money and my maternal grandparents contribute the other half. The account remains under my mom after the divorce. As far as I know, he stopped contributing to that account after the divorce. Last month, I found out that my dad's been harassing my mom because he wanted to add Hank as a beneficiary to the college fund for my siblings. He's saying that Hank is his son and therefore entitled to the college fund that he set up for me, Connor, and Sophia. My mom told him off and now he has been going around harassing her online and to their mutual acquaintances and friends, claiming that she is heartless and cruel for taking her anger out on an innocent child. And then, he also had the genius idea to reach out to me to put pressure on my mom. He said I should consider opening up my heart to Hank who grew up without a father and wasn't set up in life like my siblings and me. I left him on read since, honestly, the things I wanted to say to that callous evil monster may be too much. Yesterday he changed tactics and now said he wanted to withdraw all his part of the money from the account, divided them to make sure Hank has his share and deposited the rest back into the account. With the caveat that since Connor and I didn't need to use the college fund for tuition since we both had full ride scholarships, the money would be divided into 2 parts. For Hank and Sophia, instead of into 4 parts for his 4 children. And now he, some of my dad's side of the family, and even the mistress are pressuring my mom to agree to that. And I'm praying that she won't. It physically makes me angry that we're being asked to split our money with my dad's affair child. Even if yes, I don't need to use the money to pay for school, I will need it in the future. Same with Connor. And I know for a fact he would never use the same reasoning to exclude Connor and I from the fund just to have the money solely for Sophia in the same situation. It's all for Hank. I understand that Hank is innocent and not responsible for his parents' actions, but I don't think of him as my brother. Hell, I don't even think of my father as my father anymore, to be honest. As far as I'm concerned, my family consists of me, my siblings, and my mom. That's it. So, AITA? Edit. I'm 23, Hank is 14. OOP's comments. What type of fund? Where I live, if the funds are unused due to scholarship, we can withdraw it and won't be penalized. And I'm considering getting a master's degree, so even if I didn't have to pay for my undergraduate, I probably will need it for grad school. The fund is a state-sponsored savings plan. Sorry, I can't give the actual name since it's very specific to where we live. Commenter. NTA et al. Where does your father get the idea that he set up this fund when it was your grandparents on your mom's side? Do his family members know the whole story? OOP. Yeah, that man's delusion is out of this world. His audacity is truly unmatched. My paternal grandparents know and support us. I know my grandma has been trying to get him to back off, but he unfortunately doesn't listen to her. It's mainly my dad's brothers who are joining him to harass my mom. I don't know if they know the full story or not. Since grandma and grandpa know, I feel like they do too. Update. Thank you so much everyone for the support and advice, I really appreciate it. I talked to my mom this morning about getting the lawyer involved and also about a potential restraining order. She has been talking to the lawyer about dad's demands and it looks like he really doesn't have any rights to it. I think some of you are correct that he is doing all this because he knows he won't win in court. As for a restraining order, mom is hesitant to do it right now since dad has visitation rights with Sophia and she doesn't want to make it too complicated for my sister, but she promised me that if things get worse she will get one. My brother Connor and I also talked and we will be taking turns coming home for the weekend so mom and Sophia won't be alone just in case anything happens. Some clarifications. We haven't involved mom's parents since their healths aren't the best right now. Grandpa was really shocked when he heard about the cheating plus secret son of dad that he had a heart attack. Thank God he mostly recovers now. However, none of us want to put stress on him. According to dad, he never knew about Hank's existence until last year when his mistress came back. Nobody in our family knew really until dad brought Hank to a family event to break the news to us. He blindsided and humiliated my mom and it was the final straw for her. They divorced after that. I honestly don't hate Hank. It's just that right now I can't imagine spending time with him. He's a minor still, so everything will have to involve either our father or his mother. And that is a no for me right now. Perhaps in the future, things will be different. Who knows? Hopefully things get resolved soon. Thank you everyone again for the amazing advice and words of support. Karen won't take our son trick-or-treating, Calling Halloween silly. Am I the jerk for insisting she lets him enjoy it? For weeks, my 7-year-old eldest Liam has been giddy with anticipation for Halloween. Convinced that trick-or-treating is the year's high point, he hasn't stopped talking about it. However, I must admit that I find the entire situation somewhat absurd. Although I am aware that Halloween is observed in other nations, it seems absurd to me that we live in Australia. I've never seen any decorations, and it's not customary here, at least not in our neighborhood. In fact, the few placards I've seen openly criticize Halloween because they believe it to be un-Australian. We haven't had a single trick-or-treater come on our door in the 5 years we've been here, but I still buy a large bag of candy every year just in case. Sorry, but it's just not something people do here, I have been saying to Liam. Liam's excitement peaked as Halloween drew near. He was asking to go trick-or-treating, practically jumping off the walls. I attempted to explain that it wasn't typical in this area, but he didn't seem to care. All he wanted to do was dress up and go candy hunting with his 5-year-old brother, Noah, who was just as excited. My wife, Alicia, flatly refused to take them when I brought it up to her. She sneered, "It's just a silly American tradition. I want to avoid wasting my time on it." I was annoyed. Alicia wouldn't even think about making things special for Liam, who was all fired up for something he perceived as amazing. I attempted to talk her out of it, but she refused to listen. She insisted, "I have better things to do." The issue was that I was unable to take them myself because I had a work trip planned that would take me away on Halloween. "Perhaps you could take them out for a short while. I recommend it." She gave a headshake. I simply fail to see the purpose. I would want to unwind at home. Halloween is nothing more than an exaggerated candy grab. I grew increasingly irritated the more I considered it. It felt unfair to deprive our children the opportunity to celebrate something that so many others get to, and I didn't want to start a fight. I began thinking that, even if it meant defying Alicia's desires, I should just take kids to a neighborhood where trick-or-treating is accepted. I finally said, "I can't believe you won't even consider it," after a long day of back and forth. "It's the only night of the year, so they're thrilled." Is this asking for too much? Alicia's face was set in defiance as she crossed her arms. "Perhaps you should have considered that before planning your trip if you truly care that much." "I'm not going to do it, it's absurd." Dejected, I took out my phone to research Halloween activities. Even if Alicia is reluctant, perhaps I could find a way to make it work if I couldn't take them. Update. At last, I discovered a neighborhood gathering that provided a secure environment for trick-or-treating. Since it's before I depart for my trip, I made the decision to take them there personally. Even if it meant getting some blowback from Alicia for defying her wishes, I couldn't wait to see the joy on their faces. This entire circumstance has been the final nail in the coffin. I eventually made the decision to inform Alicia that I wanted a divorce because I've been tired of her attitude for a long time. I'm currently cleaning up our house, which she essentially ruined before leaving to live with her sister, and she handled it about as well as I had anticipated. Am I the asshole for going low contact with my parents after they hit a hereditary illness, putting my child at risk? Edit, most of you figured it out anyway. It is called Huntington's. Update, I ended up telling my siblings. We met at my sister's house, and I just came out with, "I have Huntington's. It's hereditary. You should both get checked." My brother started panicking. He and his fiancée just started trying to get pregnant, and now he's terrified. He's furious with our parents and fully on my side. He confronted them right after, and now we're both going low contact. My sister was more shocked and distant, but she said she'll get tested. My parents are pissed that I told them without waiting for the right time, but I don't regret it. My siblings deserve the truth, and I wasn't going to let them live in ignorance like I did. I, 28F, recently found out I have a serious hereditary illness that's going to screw up my life, and I am so mad I can barely type this out. It's a degenerative illness, no cure, nothing. My body's just gonna slowly get worse. And the kicker, my parents have known this could happen my whole life and never said a damn word. This illness runs in my family. My dad's mom had it. His sister, my aunt, died from it a few years ago. I was living overseas when she passed, and my parents told me it was cancer. Cancer. They lied right to my face. It wasn't until I got diagnosed that they finally came clean and admitted she had the same illness I do. When I confronted them, my dad wouldn't even give me a straight answer. I asked if he had it too, and he dodged every single question, acting like I was overreacting. My mom, on the other hand, tried to justify it by saying they didn't want me living in fear. Are you kidding me? I could have been prepared. Instead, they chose to let me walk into this blind. And here's where it gets worse. I have a 2-year-old son. My child might have this, and they never told me I was at risk. I could have had him tested, made informed decisions, anything. But no, they took that from me and now I live in constant fear for him too. Then my mom had the nerve to ask me if I would have rather not been born than deal with this. Can you believe that? She turned it around on me, like I'm the monster for even thinking about it. And you know what? Yes, I said it. Yes, I would rather not have been born than deal with this disease. They made a selfish choice, and now I'm paying for it. They knew the risks and did it anyway, for themselves. They wanted kids, and now I'm stuck with this. I called them selfish, and I meant every word. Now they're begging me not to tell my younger siblings. They don't know about this yet, haven't been tested, and my parents want to keep it that way. They're hoping they'll get lucky, but I'm not going to lie to them. I refuse to let them be blindsided like I was. They deserve to know the truth. I've been in low contact with my parents. I can't stand to even think about them right now. My mom keeps trying to guilt trip me, saying they were just trying to protect me. Protect me from what? The truth? No, they weren't protecting me. They were protecting themselves, from the guilt of knowing they passed this on, and now they want me to protect them too. But I won't. I love my son and my siblings too much to lie to them. AITA for going LC and refusing to keep their secret, even though they claim they were just trying to protect me. Karen demands that her husband eat all the extra food she cooks after his weight loss. I, 37, male, and my wife, 35, are currently cooling down from an altercation in which I told her unequivocally that she needed to make less food in the future or I would continue to not eat it. The backstory is really basic and it does not jeopardize our marriage or cause any severe problems. As a basketball player, I'm getting older, and my knees are giving out. At the end of lockdown, I weighed roughly 196 pounds and stood 5'9". I realized I needed to make a change and get back down to my pre-lockdown weight of around 163 pounds. Now, I'm down to 70 kilograms, and I'm pleased with my development. I intend to make this my new normal as I grow older. However, my wife isn't overjoyed. I've lost all of my weight, and there are no love handles for her to play with anymore. Most upsetting for her is that I don't eat as much as I used to. We rotate cooking tasks every day, and when it's my turn, I usually make just enough. But when she prepares, there's usually enough food to fill another dish. My wife is too small to eat it, and I'm now a guy who doesn't either. I always recommend that we save it for dinner the next day. I don't have breakfast, and lunch is provided by my employer. It worked for a time, the leftovers soon ended up in the garbage, and she'd ask me to make something new instead. Although things have been mostly great, she does not hesitate to observe that men should be eating seconds or thirds. It's simply the Japanese way for her. She's Japanese, and we live in Japan. She remembers her father joyfully asking for seconds and thirds. She is becoming increasingly embarrassed that her spouse dislikes her cuisine, although I enjoy it. Her cooking is excellent, and I eat as much as I can when she prepares it. It's just that she earns too much. We've talked about her portion sizes, but it always comes down to letting her cook her way. This all boiled over earlier today when she asked if I wanted a second plate of excellent fried chicken, and I declined since I was just too full. She replied, "Are you going to throw away all of this chicken? That's incredibly wasteful." I knew I was responding incorrectly, but I still said, "You are wasting all of this chicken. I told you to prepare less food. I have been telling you for months. I don't see you eating the chicken either. You're the one wasting money and effort on extra food that I won't eat, and that won't change." She's now in bed after crying, and nothing I said helped her feel better. I'm downstairs writing this. I know my attitude was incorrect at the time, but have I been a jerk throughout this weight loss journey, or at least when it comes to my wife's cooking? Should I have just swallowed it up and eaten her entire meal? Comment 1, not a jerk. You've already said a lot about it. She should have to eat whatever leftovers she makes. Hopefully, this is not the case, but she could be unintentionally undermining your weight reduction. Comment 2, not a jerk. It is an Asian phenomenon. Food means love. I'm Chinese, and my mother regularly overcooks and then comments on all of our weights. It took almost 20 years and all of the kids moved out for her to finally cook less, or at least enough so that everyone was finished and there were no leftovers when we visited her. Simply tell your wife that you do not perceive food in the same manner. Food provides sustenance, and overeating is a dangerous habit. Excess weight at your age causes health concerns, and if she cares about you, she would not want that. Just keep repeating it while telling her that you still love her, even if you want to eat less of what she prepares. My best friend made a move on my husband while I was away with my family. He pushed her away, but now I don't know what to do next. Original post, I think this is the right sub, but if not, I'm sorry. I can't think straight right now. We, 37F39M, have been together for 15 years, married for 12, and we have 4 kids. We've always had a wonderful loving relationship and have both been amazing partners to each other. My mom is not doing well health-wise, and I flew out to her with our youngest on Friday morning, and we will be flying back tomorrow night. A few hours ago, my best friend called me crying and said that she got into a major fight with her husband after she found he cheated and asked if she could come over. She had forgotten that I wasn't in town, and I talked to her for a little while and tried to calm her down. I also called my husband explaining the situation and asked if it was okay for my best friend to spend the night in our guest room, and he was fine with it. I took our iPad with me to keep our youngest entertained while at my parents' place. It is logged into my husband's Apple ID email, so his messages and calls show up on it. When I went to put it on charge, I saw tens of messages from my best friend to my husband. I found it strange since they were supposed to be under the same roof, and I knew it was wrong to snoop, but I ended up reading the messages anyway. Long story short, something happened between them. My husband kicked her out, and my best friend wants to keep whatever it is a secret, but my husband says that I deserve to know. I don't know what to do or think now, and I have no one I can talk to about this. What am I supposed to do now? Relevant comments. Comment 1, at least he wants to tell you about it. You should call him and ask him what it is that you deserve to know. It might just be that she made a move on him and he got mad and kicked her out, but contact him now. Comment 2, same. She's just been cheated on, and she likely wanted revenge, but in her distress, she picked the nearest man to her, just made more of a mess of her life. Completely valid reason to cut her out. Also, if OP values the friendship, she has room to be understanding without looking foolish since her husband is loyal. She 100% owes him a huge high five. I would personally understand and forgive, but keep her at arm's length for years, if not forever. Just because I understand doesn't mean I'm going to give you access to my personal life again. About the husband, yes, loyalty is expected and mandatory. No, that doesn't mean that most people wouldn't take low-hanging fruit if offered. He isn't like most. That itself deserves acknowledgement since you saw it in practice before your eyes. Having verifiable proof your partner won't play you even if they reasonably could get away with it is worthy of celebration. Not necessarily because he deserves a treat, but because you now know you are truly safe with your back turned. If he kissed her or SM'd Heath, then he can go get fucked though. Update. You guys were right. I wanted to have the conversation face to face and waited till I got back a few hours ago. We talked after we had dinner and all the kids went to bed. After my now former friend showered and freshened up, my husband gave her leftovers from dinner and they talked about her husband and the situation with her husband, and out of nowhere she tried to sit in his lap and tried kissing him, and my husband pushed her off and she tried again and told her that she had to leave. My husband admitted that he was tempted to call me late last night but didn't want to add more to my plate while I was with my mom and wanted to physically be there when he told me. I have talked to her since and she is back at her place and her husband is not there. She has been very apologetic and is saying that she wasn't in the right headspace and made a mistake trying something with my husband and is begging me to not break apart our friendship. To be honest, I feel bad for her, but she knows how much I love my husband and my family and she was willing to ruin everything, and I can't forgive that or rationalize it. I child-proofed for my in-laws visit, but my husband thought I was overreacting. Now he's gone further after day 1 with our nephew. Original post, I am at 26F, and my husband is 29M. We have been married for 5 years and we went to Berlin right after marriage since we both found really well-paying jobs. Meanwhile, both of our families, parents, siblings, etc., still live back in Greece and we usually visit back occasionally. Now me and my husband don't have any children and we don't plan to have any. We enjoy buying expensive things and experiencing things we never got to as children, such as nice furniture in our home, going to exotic restaurants with friends, travel, hobbies, and generally just our lives with each other exactly the way it is. But that's just how my husband thinks. His family is very traditional and every married couple has at least one kid. This time my husband invited my Bill and CL to visit us with their 3-year-old son for 2 weeks. This would be the first time they've traveled with their son and the first time we would be hosting our nephew at our home. Now our nephew is known to be going through the terrible twos and has been throwing tantrums and breaking things lately, so I did some child-proofing in our home a day before my in-laws were due to arrive. I removed all the glass and ceramic decor. I swapped out our linen tablecloth for a plastic one. I locked up our intoxication devices. I also covered our sofas with a plushy fabric cover. Our sofa's fabric is white cashmere, because my nephew likes to snack while watching TV and we can always take it outside and dust off food crumbs. I also changed my maid's schedule to come in 5 days a week instead of 3 so she can help prepare breakfast and make sure the house is tidy. However, when my husband saw all of my changes, he kind of got upset. He told me he felt that I was preparing our house as if we were hosting messy and uncivilized people. And asked me why I don't make these changes when our friends in Berlin who have kids come over for dinner. He also said that he's never seen our friends make these sorts of changes in their own home for their kids. I don't understand this comparison at all. Coming over for dinner for 3 hours and staying at a place for a couple of weeks is very different. And we've visited our in-laws enough to see how chaotic their home can get to the point where my Bill and SIL keep mostly plastic items in their homes for convenience. AITA. Top comments. Tulip afternoon, NTA. Instead of worrying the entire visit that their kid could ruin something expensive, the visiting parents can rest assured that the space has been child-proofed. As long as all the changes don't make the space uncomfortable, for example squeaky plastic couch covers or all decor being hidden so the place is bare, I think it makes a lot of sense. You are making the visit less stressful for everyone. Horror reveal 7618. He told me he felt that I was preparing our house as if we were hosting messy and uncivilized people. He's quoting the definition of a toddler here. OOP is voted NTA Update 1. Same post. Edit. We hadn't spoken since we had our fight last night and my in-laws are supposed to be landing in the morning. My husband brought food from a restaurant I liked and told me he wanted to apologize. He told me he overreacted because he wasn't admitting to himself how different his brother is as a person ever since he became a dad and that his life is going in a very different direction with more financial hardships too and that makes him angry and helpless. He told me he misdirected his frustration at me and thought what I did was really nice especially since he is more finicky than I am. I tried my best to make him feel not guilty and responsible for the lives and decisions of other grown-ups. But I'm so relieved he came around on his own. Update 2. Same post. Edit 2. So guys, it's officially day 1 of the in-laws visit and my husband has now gone an extra step and put away most of the lamps in our house because they are glass and super dangerous for a toddler to be around. We have about 35 'cause we hate ceiling lights. When we picked up our in-laws from the airport and were driving them back, my nephew accidentally poured a bag of chips all over the back seat and floor mats. Everyone just laughed but I know my husband was horrified inside and now he's been vacuuming the backseat area for 2 hours now, lol. Oh, and in-laws super appreciated our baby proofing. My coworker ate some volatile gummy bears on my desk and got sick. Now she wants to sue me. Is this the real Game of Thrones? Original post. This is in Michigan. I am originally from Germany and very unsure how the law works in the United States, so bear with me. Last year I received a job offer to work as an assistant professor in the German language department at a large university in Michigan. I recently finished my PhD and was really excited to fill a research position, and possible postdoc position, in the specific field I applied to. Most of my time I give classes in German literature but additionally the university would like me to help students with writer's block, so I joined an interdisciplinary workshop. There are at least 4 people connected to this workshop and we get along fine most of the time. Sadly, there is one elderly woman who made me out as a rival on day 1. I do not know what provoked her but there is something about me that makes her mad. Cue the incident. I had an appointment with a student, gave him some tips and instructions and left my bowl with gummy bears on the desk. Mind you, these gummies are sugar-free and volatile. If you eat more than a handful you're in serious trouble and you will occupy the toilet bowl for the rest of your day. But my co-worker ate the whole bowl. First she excused herself from any commitments and then she called in sick. The next day she confronted me and blamed me for the whole ordeal, that I deliberately placed those gummy bears and it was all a ploy to humiliate her. According to her, she has already informed HR and her lawyer that I will be kicked out of the country in no time. The only thing I can blame myself on is that me and my colleagues giggled at her bowel distress signals. Relevant comments. OP replied to 2 deleted comment OOP1. She claims that I left the bowl in the open and it was baiting her and others to eat the poison. Her words. I told her that it was just sugar-free gummy bears and that she has a weak tummy if she is violently sick after maybe 70 g of the stuff. Probably a major mistake on my part, I should just have shut up. OP2. Thank you for your hands-on response. Most answers circle jerk around the funny stuff but I actually have to deal with this nonsense and I feel incredibly insecure because I am not used to the US law system. I printed out some hostile emails she sent to me recently and I hope HR is taking my side. In any case, thank you for the detailed response. Top comments. Grasshopper1 LOL. This is a great story. You don't have anything to worry about. You're allowed to have sugar-free gummy bears and it's not your fault she devoured the entire bowl full. Besides, she's not going to win a lawsuit because she had to shit a lot. As someone who accidentally consumed too many sugar-free candies once, I feel her pain, but she has no case. Ex Patinpa. When I read volatile, I was expecting these to be exploding gummy bears. I suppose they were, but not in the way I was imagining. No, it's not your problem if your coworker pigged out on gummy bears that have sugar alcohol in them. Unless you explicitly told her they were fine to eat. Update: we are still in Michigan. I guess I had a fruitful conversation with HR yesterday. My coworker and I had separate interviews yesterday. No blaming, just telling what happened and how our workplace could be improved in the future. I make it quick. Her side of the story looks like this. Herbie Castle deliberately placed sweets laced with laxatives in the commonly shared office space to make me and other people sick. My side. I forgot my bowl with gummy bears, which I gladly and generously share with everybody in my department, not assuming that anybody would eat the whole bowl of sugar-free gummy bears. That would be an argumento ad common senso, I assume, in legal terms. I even brought an original German gummy bear packet with me to prove that I didn't mean any harm. True story though, my pants had been, were and have been shat during the last couple of days, and that without any laxative gummy bears. I hope these tenses fit. Hard to believe, but we talked during lunch yesterday and made up. She is a nice lady in fact, but had issues with food allergies in the past. And I would love to just close this story with a, we reconciled and everything was fine, but there was another mere bit of a wow moment in the room when I learnt that both hostile coworker and me have already been put under scrutiny, HR words, by another assistant professor who had also joined in our workshop project. Is this fucking Game of Thrones? I taught my autistic husband how to make pancakes and he has been making pancakes nonsense for 4 days. Original post. Today he has expanded into adding blueberries, chocolate chips, and strawberries into the pancakes. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Subtly drop him a video about crepes and expand to savory options. OOP, planning to. I love cooking and hoping this is a good way to introduce to him why I love cooking. Commenter 2. That's your house husband now. OOP. Actually, I'm the house husband because my husband runs his own business doing his special interest of building things for people. Roofs, porches, kitchens, bathrooms, etc. People want to know how one man can do the work and better job of 12 men, and it is just autism OOP on being married to an autistic significant other. OP, I fucking love have an autistic husband. I love how direct he is with me. If there is an issue in our relationship, he will directly tell me instead of beating around the bush and letting it get worse. I have learned that love comes in many forms. He doesn't tell me he loves me, he makes me pancakes. Or he gives me a really cool rock. Or he writes love letters because he is awful at verbally saying how he feels. Or he tells me a really odd fact about rhinos out of the blue. I know my husband genuinely loves me because I am the only one he can make direct eye contact with. Update: our son loves dinosaurs, so after a couple batches, my husband taught himself how to make pancake-shaped dinosaurs. And they come in a broad range of colors. Every morning our son draws him a different dinosaur to make and my husband flawlessly copies it into pancakes. I have known this man for 15 years and he has never cooked one pancake. Yet in a week and a half he was making high-quality pancake art. My mom-in-law told me she had her son tested and he was perfectly normal. Normal people don't spend 5 hours Googling equipment for a hobby they picked up less than a week ago. Normal people don't go balls to the wall for a brand new hobby and get obsessive until they achieve perfection. You know, my husband is so bad at holding down a typical job. My in-laws would complain that my husband struggled holding down a simple high school after school because he simply could not focus on one task. He will learn one task, grow bored of it, and then quit to chase the next interest. He actually runs his own company because he got tired of a typical job. He builds roofs or redesigns kitchens, baths, and beds. Or he does minor builds like furniture or children's toys. There are 2 people in his company. Himself and me. My only job is answering the work phone because he hates talking to new clients. I love watching him work. He can go into a kitchen that needs remodeling and just stares at it. And then he comes back home and builds what he needs. Go back to the home, destroy the kitchen, and hang up new cabinets. Does he write anything down or measure anything? No. Why? Because the numbers are in my head. Same thing with the fucking pancakes. He doesn't use measuring cups because the pancakes tell me what they need. I swear next time his parents visit us they are getting a stack of autistic pancakes. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your husband sounds amazing. You're lucky to have each other. P.S. The autism likely comes from Mill's side if she thinks everything is normal. Well, I thought everything my kids did was normal too. OOP, he is so much like his mom. She probably thinks he is normal because he acts so much like her. Both of them do things differently. Had OOP's husband been diagnosed properly based on his situation, OOP. Autism, ADHD and OCD is what my husband is diagnosed with. Commenter 2, the fact that your MIL had him tested and he's perfectly normal really gets me. If he's normal, what prompted her to have him tested? OP. My husband was having trouble focusing and sitting still in class in elementary school. Teacher asked his parents to get him tested. And well, this was 1993, and since my husband is a white male who can walk, talk, use the bathroom independently, there is no way he could be one of those retarded children in special education. My mom-in-law swore up and down that there is nothing wrong with her son, he just has some quirks. And us new age millennials want to put a label on everything. There were plenty of kids like her son back when she was a young girl and they were fine. It wasn't actually until Elon Musk came out and said he has a form of autism. Both Elon and my husband talk the same. You can tell their brains are going a million miles an hour and their mouth is trying to keep up and explain what they mean at the same time. Now my mom-in-law is finally learning that autism doesn't have a stereotypical look to it. And she is finally trying to come to terms that maybe there is something wrong with her son's quirks. Husband plans dinner date with long-term ex and dismisses my concerns as insecurity. Am I the asshole for overreacting? Throwaway account. I really need input from people who don't know us, so their opinions aren't biased. I'm very emotional and tired, so I apologize in advance for any typos. My husband, Jack, M, 36, used to date Emma, F, 34, for years. They broke up because Jack didn't want to get married or have kids. Emma moved away, and about a month later, Jack met me, F, 30. I don't look like the typical girls Jack had been dating. For example, Emma is super tall, blonde with blue eyes, and has a PhD. I'm petite, 110 pounds and short. I'm a nurse, I have dark curly hair and I'm an introvert. Apparently, she was a social butterfly. Jack has a group of friends that he's known since childhood. They are like brothers to him, but from the very beginning, they didn't like me. They still call me the rebound girl. At our wedding, during his best man speech, he joked, "We all thought rebound girls were temporary, but our brother Jack made an honest woman out of her." Everyone laughed. I didn't. They also joke that I'm just a nurse, and that Jack downgraded, since he has a PhD, technically postdoctoral, from a doctor to just a nurse. For my own sanity, I ignore them, and Jack still hangs out with them regularly. Last weekend, there was a fundraising gala, and Emma was there. I saw her for the first time in person. Jack introduced me, and Emma said, "Yeah, I know who she is." The guys weren't kidding when they described her, haha. Jack quickly changed the topic and asked how long she was in town. She said for a week, and then they ended up chatting all night, reminiscing about old times. I decided to talk to other people. Later, at bedtime, Jack mentioned that he should go out to dinner with Emma. I assumed he meant inviting her over, so I asked what kind of food she likes so I could make it. He said no, it would just be the two of them. I asked, like a date? And he replied, "No, just two friends going to dinner." "Why are you so insecure?" I asked him. "Do you miss her? Do you miss being with her?" He said, "I'm not going to lie, it felt great talking to her tonight. There's just something about her." I got really upset and told him he can do whatever he wants, but if he goes on this dinner date, I'm done. He thinks I'm overreacting and being insecure. So, wise people of Reddit, is this rebound girl overreacting? Original post. It's 4:45 a.m. and I didn't sleep last night. I thought I'd post an update. I decided to stay awake and talk to him when he came home. When he did, I told him, "I could have tracked your location, shown up at the restaurant, and done so many things to get my answer. But I'd like to believe you have enough respect for me to tell me. Were you on a dinner date with your friends or Emma?" He showed me pictures and said, "No, it was all of us, me, my friends and Emma." I was stupid enough to feel relieved, even feeling bad for accusing him. Then he told me to sit down because we needed to talk. He said that after seeing Emma at the gala, he couldn't stop thinking about her. He decided to take Monday and Tuesday, yesterday, off and spent the whole day with her, while I assumed he was at work. He went on about how strong their connection was, how they couldn't stop talking, and how much he enjoyed being with her. He told me I'm a sweet woman, but he never felt that spark with me. He said that at dinner, Emma was laughing and having fun with everyone and it felt like old times, compared to me being quiet and uncomfortable around his friends. He said it's best if we go our separate ways. I asked him if they had sex and he didn't reply. I asked again and again, but he still wouldn't answer. I was so upset and asked, "Why did you marry me if you're not over her?" He said he thought I was the one, but these past 2 days made him realize there's no spark between us. He kept going on about how sweet I am and that I'll find someone too. I told him to shut up. I said, Emma knew about your cancer treatments. Where was she when you needed a friend? Why didn't she ever call you back then? He went quiet. I feel stupid for ignoring all the red flags over the years and wasting 6 years of my life with him. My next step is hiring a lawyer and finding my own place. I feel so numb right now. I'm going to contact my brother to help me. Thank you, everyone. I will see a lawyer soon. My ex and I got in a huge argument tonight. We share a house that we are currently live in. He sleeps in our bedroom, I sleep in the spare room. He told me tonight that he wants his girlfriend to stay with him, yes, at our house, while she is in town. Can I legally call the police to kick her out? Or since house is under his name too, he can bring anyone and cops can't do anything? I suggested he moves out so he can invite whoever he wants, but he doesn't want to pay mortgage for our current house and rent for a place he would be staying. Am I the asshole for refusing lunch with my girlfriend's mom to honor my late brother's memorial tradition? Original post, September 20th, 2024. Throwaway account. INM, 30, lost my younger brother when I was 22. He had cancer and fought very hard. Ever since, I've been donating blood on the anniversary of his death every year. I take the day off from work, visit his grave, donate blood, and then come home, relax, and watch his favorite movie. I know it's a simple, personal tradition, but it means a lot to me. My girlfriend of 9 months, Anna, F., 31, asked if I could meet her and her mom. I have met her many times before and it wasn't the meeting of the parents for the first time, for lunch yesterday. I told her no and explained again about what I do on my brother's death anniversary. She got upset and said, well, it's my tradition to have lunch with my mom every time she's in town and she really wanted to see you. You can do your stupid blood donation tradition any day. I explained to her that it's not just about the blood donation. Later in the evening, while I was resting and watching my brother's favorite movie, she texted me again, asking me to join them. I reiterated that I really didn't want to and would hang out with her mom next time. She replied that I had embarrassed her in front of her mom with my selfishness and laziness. Since then, she's been distant. Do I owe her an apology? AITA. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter. Question. Did Anna know about this tradition before her mother came to visit? I'm thinking the answer is yes because you said explained again, but I wanted to verify this. OOP. Yes. I have mentioned it many times before. I think she forgot about the date, so I re-explained that I can't join them that day for that reason. Commenter. NTA. She doesn't respect your tradition, which is 1 day a year. Her mom will probably come to town more than one time in the year. Your girlfriend is selfish and entitled. OOP. Yes, she is retired and lives 3 hours away. She comes here often. Commenter. Your tradition outweighs getting dinner with a visiting relative/in-law. I'm sorry for your loss. I hope you had a good day of remembering him. If I could, what's his face in the movie? OOP. There are 2 actually. LOL. The very first Despicable Me movie and Star Wars, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Commenter. Have you watched the new one? I see all the movies my dad would have loved to see from the franchises he loved. OOP. Not yet. I'm planning to watch it with my dad. My mom died when we were kids and my dad raised us alone. On my brother's birthday, Plan B is having him over for a movie night on my brother's birthday if the movie will no longer be in movie theaters in December. Commenter. I think you would need to think very carefully about this. GF. Losing someone you live with is very hard and she is very careless with your feelings. Sorry for your loss. I lost my brother when he was 12 and I was 15. Still miss him. OP, my condolences. I miss him a lot. There are certain video games I can't even look at or play anymore because it was our special thing. Commenter. Downvoted. I see plenty of room for doing lunch with your GF and her mom, and still commemorating your brother's death on the same day. It would have been easy to fit lunch between visiting a grave, drawing blood and seeing a movie. You also missed a chance to invite your GF to partake in your ritual, and instead seem to have just used it as an excuse to not go out with them. You're going to lose a lot more people in life before it's through. I understand death is hard, but it's been nearly a decade. Sometimes clinging to those ancient memories only holds us back. OP. She had never met him. He passed long before my current relationship. She never showed any interest to join and I wasn't expecting her to join. I mean, if she wanted to, she would be more than welcome to join. I didn't exclude her. My brother's is not some ancient memory. We were very close and we only had each other growing up as my dad was working a lot. His memory isn't holding me back in any ways. OP comments 1 hour after posting. I texted Anna that we need to talk after reading the comments. I'm going to end it. I don't have her mom's number, unfortunately. OOP 3 hours later when asked for an update. Sure. So far no reply. OOP responds to a downvoted commenter. I'm not apologizing. I sent her a text to meet so I can end it. Expecting to have one day out of a year is not too much to ask for. Update. Same post. September 22nd, 2024, 2 days later. I texted her that we needed to talk. She never replied. Just blocked me from everywhere. Social media, WhatsApp. Her best friend who was following me on Instagram blocked me too. I'm not sad. I wanted to end it anyways. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate your kind comments. Some users suggested that my brother/remembrance tradition saved me from getting serious with her and a lifetime of misery, and it made me smile. Thank you again. My Sil bullied my autistic son, I defended him, and now my family sides with her. Original post, I, 32F, have a 7-year-old son who's autistic. I also divorced when we found out that Greg, my son, was autistic, because my husband was ashamed of having a weirdo as a son and demanded that we give him up for adoption. I simply denied, he got mad and left. My sister-in-law, Mary, 28F, literally hates my son. Since the day we found out he's autistic, she was constantly saying that I need to get rid of him because I will soon feel embarrassed. She was also telling us that my ex-husband did the right thing and that I should have listened to him. Nobody has ever said anything, and I have never caused any drama because I didn't want to ruin the whole vibe, since I only see her in family gatherings. But today it happened. Even though Greg is autistic, he's the smartest human I've ever seen. Today is my mom's birthday, so I had the chance to meet Mary again. As she was talking, she was sometimes making small mistakes and Greg was the one correcting her. At some point her face turned red, she stood up and started yelling at my son. She was calling him problematic, weird, said that she now knows why Greg has no friends and that his dad was right about leaving him. My son cried, for the first time. He has never cried about a situation before. At least not in front of me. He usually gets a little moody when something happens to him, but we talk for a bit and then he's smiling again. I was too shocked to say anything. I just stood up, took Greg's hand and left. But then I realized that by leaving, I wouldn't make things any better. So I told Greg to wait in the car. I went back and everyone looked at me in shock. My parents were trying to stop me because they knew that Mary had fucked up, but I didn't really care. She hurt my son, so she should pay for it. I watched her as she was standing up and walking towards my direction, having this annoying smile on her face. I grabbed her by her neck, barely letting her breathe. I just told her, if you ever make my son sad, I will make sure you spend the rest of your life more miserable than ever. And left. Relevant comments. Jesus Christ, the stories I read on Reddit, how do these people even exist? An adult bullying a 7-year-old within your own family. What the flying fuck? OOP's reply. Cold-hearted and mean people unfortunately exist. I hope y'all never get to experience this kind of behavior from your own family. Did your family not put her in her place? OOP's reply. Unfortunately not. I've started to believe that they actually agree. What did your brother say? Is he still embarrassed for being married to such an ignorant person? OOP's reply. My brother said nothing at all. He just silently told her to sit down when I returned, but nothing too special. There is something deeply wrong about a grown adult making an innocent kid cry for no good reason, even worse when it's not even their own kid. It gets worse when you consider autism is effectively special needs. You'd need to be really sick in the head to even go there. Totally understand your reaction though, but definitely be careful with someone like her too. Don't give her the power to damage you both. That aside, he's lucky to have you. Update. Just called my mom. The moment she answered, she started yelling. She said that I should be ashamed of ruining her birthday and that she doesn't want me to go to any family gatherings again, as I've made my Sil upset. I told her I couldn't care less about how Mary felt. The only thing I cared about was Greg. I reminded her about the times when my Sil was talking shit about her only grandchild and asked her how was she able to keep her cool when her beloved Mary was calling her, once again, only grandchild problematic. She answered by saying that she didn't know how to react, so the solution was silence. I asked one more thing. If she agreed with Mary. If she is ashamed of my son. Her answer was hanging up the phone. My brother keeps ignoring my calls. I want to personally thank each and every one of you. Receiving all this support from you guys made me strong again, and because of you and the stories you told me, I have the courage to protect him even more and never give up. Thank you. Relevant comments. You're a good mother. I'm autistic, but my parents think it's demon possession. Going NC was the best thing I did for myself. My kids are also neurodivergent and I do my best to protect them. If your family didn't have your back, you don't need them. If your brother isn't calling you to apologize for his wife, you don't need him. Your responsibility is to your child and protecting him from people like your SIL. If you do choose to go NC, it hurts at first but it does get better. I wouldn't be surprised if the distance causes them, mother and brother, to reevaluate the situation. Upi's reply. I have chosen not to contact again for my child's sake and I know it will be hard but I'm willing to fight for him. Sending hugs to you and your loving family. Y'all know why is Op's mom taking Mary's side? Because she sees her as her only chance of having a normal grandchild, that's all. Sorry you're going through this, Op, but you did the right thing. This had been going on long enough, but it's time to go NC with the abusive family. I wouldn't have done worse honestly if I were you. Am I the asshole for just saying okay and walking away disgusted when my fiancé blamed me for ruining his life and broke up in a rant? Edit. Thank you for all your opinions. It was nice to get this off my chest, lol. Just to clarify though, I don't feel like a victim. I feel like something happened, and my relationship just turned bad. He behaved like an asshole but that is the extent of it. Very clearly, something is going on. But he doesn't want me to be part of whatever it is, and I have to respect that. Now I just have to detangle myself legally from him, and after that, I'll just be left alone with my ugly green wall color. I think I might also adopt a cat as my ex was really allergic. So, IDK man. I, 28, have been with my fiancé, Alex 34, since 2020. We met at a friend's party, hit it off and have been together ever since. He finished his doctorate in economics just last year. Since then he has been working at the uni. I have my master's in media sciences and decided to start working instead of going for a PhD. Okay, so the problem is that Alex broke up with me last Monday. It was literally so surreal and honestly, just weird. For the past few months he'd been acting strange. He was making demands and then dropping them immediately. A few examples, he told me we were going to paint our walls back from dark green to white. When I asked why, he just said, for fuck's sake, forget it. And never brought it up again. Even when I asked. Another time, he came home and got mad because I was sitting on the couch with my head covered in a blanket. I had cramps. He was upset because I was just sitting there watching Netflix. Mind you, the house was spotless. When I tried to talk about it, he said, forget it, it's not a big deal. This kind of thing became common. Every time I tried to communicate, tried to figure out what was going on, whether it was something I did or maybe he was just stressed at work. He would just say everything was fine, but he was clearly seething with rage. I didn't even have to do anything. He would find something to complain about, the apartment, clothes, me, work, etc. So I gave him space, which apparently was also wrong. I told him I was going to help my parents with repairs for a few days, and somehow that was also wrong because he wanted to renovate the apartment too. Then, on Monday, I got a text saying we needed to talk. I knew what was coming, and after the last few months I had made peace with it. When I came home he was sitting on the couch. He didn't even wait for me to take off my jacket before saying, I want to break up. Then the verbal diarrhea started. He told me he resented me, first because I didn't pursue my academic career further, even though I was capable, and he didn't want to upset me at the time. Then, when I started making more money. Since he didn't make much as a PhD student, he felt like I should have the last word financially, and he hated it. Mind you, I never said anything like, it's my money, so I have the final say. That's a rule he imposed on himself, and he hated it. He said he hated our paint scheme, the couch, and even our fucking crockpot. Then he told me he had rejected a better PhD program to stay here because I had already started my job by the time he got the acceptance letters. Only, he never told me he had even applied overseas. He said a few months ago he checked in with a friend who's in that program, saw how they were thriving, and decided I ruined his life. He said I had too much control over his life and that he hated the idea that I could just decide not to pay for things and fuck him over. I honestly don't even know what that means. He also said he hated that all his friends loved me and didn't let him vent about me. Then he said again, I'm done. I was floored. I had already made peace with the idea that we were ending, and it hurt, but after that rant I was just disgusted. I looked at him, probably with a disgusted expression, and said, okay. He lost it. He said this is exactly what he meant, that it was horrible. We had been together for 4 years and all I had to say was okay to our breakup. I just asked if he wanted to stay here while he figured out where to go. He said, typical, of course you're holding the apartment over me. And started ranting again, so I just left. I told my parents, and they're also confused. My dad suggested I reach out to our landlord and explain the situation to see what options I have. I can keep paying the rent no problem myself. He covered the utilities and some subscriptions. Just to reiterate, I never had a problem with this. I saw that he was chasing his dream, and that was more important to me than a 50-50th financial split. I make good money and am happy at my job. I never saw it as slaving away. I always had the mentality that my money was our money because we were building a life together. Of course, I had my own savings and fun money, but I honestly never cared. As long as I felt he was working towards something and wasn't taking advantage of me, I was fine with it. More than fine. Alex is still mad. He's going between texting me like a robot about the logistics of the split to being a seething asshole complaining about everything. I'm not even hurt anymore. I just feel nauseated by him at this point. I don't know. Should I have reacted differently? I took a DNA test and discovered I'm 23% related to my husband. Our marriage is now shaken by an unexpected family connection. Original post. Hey everyone, I've known my whole life that I'm a donor. I grew up in New South Wales, and my parents were always open about it, so it was never some big secret. I didn't think much about it beyond that, though, until a couple of years ago when my husband and I decided to take an ancestry DNA test. We thought it'd be fun, maybe I'd find some half-siblings, and he'd learn a bit more about his side of the family. Well, we got the results, and I matched with him. My husband. As a half-sibling. At first I thought it had to be some kind of mistake, or maybe I misunderstood something. But no, after looking into it, we realized his dad was also a donor, and no one ever told him. Now, here we are, married for years with 2 kids, and we're still trying to figure out how to process the fact that we're siblings. I don't even know how to explain how I feel. It's just overwhelming. I love him, of course, but this changes so much. We've already spoken to a genetic counselor, and we're trying to move forward, but it's like everything we thought we knew about our family has been flipped upside down. I just feel kind of lost. Has anyone else here gone through something like this? I'd really appreciate hearing from anyone who has dealt with something similar. Or even just your thoughts. Edit. This blew up much bigger than I intended. I'm going to speak to my husband about family therapy again and sit on this information. We have no interest in going public at this point. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I think you need some family counseling. First between you and your husband, and then later down the road when you inevitably tell your children. I'm not sure if you're able to take leave from work, but it would be a good idea to look into that because this is absolutely something you need to process without work distraction. OOP. I'm in therapy myself, but unfortunately my husband is not open to that right now. He's in a big denial phase and does not wish to talk about it. Commenter 2. I'm so sorry. This was bound to happen somewhere in the world, at some point, given the current unregulated fertility industry that puts profits above the rights and interests of the donor-conceived child. If you're up to it and think it would help, I have a few pieces of media to recommend. The Man with 1,000 Kids, a documentary on Netflix. Laura Hai, a content creator and advocate for DCP on TikTok, Instagram. Multiple books have helped me, such as Inheritance by Dani Shapiro, Uprooted, and The Lost Family. I have not come across this particular scenario where children were conceived by accidental incest between DCP, but a lot of people have other traumas related to the industry and have explored that. I also understand if you don't want to research the situation. I didn't when I first learned I was DCP by surprise. Talking to someone is important though. You will be okay. Your kids will be okay. It's super weird and icky that this happened, but it's not your fault. OOP, I've actually seen most of that media and read a couple books from Australian DCP. I'm lucky to have been told early that I was a donor conceived. It was never a huge factor in my life until now. Update, thank you so much for all of the responses, support, and advice. I've taken some time to process, and I wanted to provide an update on where we're at. First, I have been in individual therapy and working through everything. It's been incredibly helpful to have a space to just unravel my thoughts. My husband has also told me that he's open to couples therapy, which is a big step for us, and I'm hopeful it will help us navigate this together. To confirm some things, yes, my father-in-law is the donor, which makes him not only my husband's father but also mine. It was a lot to take in. We're both really angry that my husband's dad never told him the truth, and at the moment neither of us are talking to him. It's just too much. We've also discovered about 40 other siblings so far, all of whom live nearby. That was another layer of this experience we weren't prepared for. We haven't met them all yet, but knowing they're out there brings its own set of challenges and questions. As for our marriage, no, we're not divorcing. We love each other and are committed to working through this, but we haven't told our children yet. We plan to get professional advice before we do. This isn't something we want to rush into without understanding the best way to approach it for their sake. I know many of you are part of the donor-conceived community, and I just want to say that while I'm very aware and involved in spaces like We Are Donor-Conceived, and I follow creators like Laura High, Donor Dylan, The Queer Mama, Rachel, strangers like Medici, Sunny, Evie Lucas, etc., I'm not interested in speaking to anyone publicly about our situation. I'm really proud of people like Victoria Hill for going public, but that's not what's best for my family right now. Thanks again for listening, for the advice, and for your understanding. We're taking this one day at a time. Comments. Commenter. So very impressed with you both. This must be such hard work and my heart goes out to you. As a donor, this is my greatest fear. I was not anonymous by choice. Back in the day the fertility clinics capitalized on our naivety. My new landlord enters without permission, removes my curtains and even calls me sweetie. What should I do? New landlord hates privacy. I recently found myself needing a month-to-month lease for between 6 months to 14 months in Baltimore, which I was unfamiliar with. The apartment I found is a small efficiency in an older building. They agreed to a standard lease for the first 6 months, followed by month-to-month lease. I was to be the first tenant. When I toured it 6 weeks ago, workers were painting the rooms. The landlord's son is living upstairs, and this is my landlord's first time renting. The lease was obviously pulled from a form and seemed standard. There is a clause in the lease which states that I can't install curtains, rods or hooks. This seemed standard as well. I had something similar at my old apartment. I assumed there would be some sort of curtain provided, and this was in regards to additional curtains. I moved in on Sunday, and found the landlord had not installed curtains at all. At this point, I assumed the issue with curtains was the potential to damage the wall. So I bought tension rods that require no hardware and used them to hang curtains. Monday afternoon I got a text from my landlord saying I needed to remove the curtains. The building is on a street corner with a fair amount of foot traffic. Between the 4 windows, you can see all of my apartment with the exception of the portion of the bathroom with the toilet and tub. Not only does this mean I have no privacy, but the neighborhood is slightly sketchy after dark. The nearby buildings have bars on their windows. Anyone passing by not only can see my possessions, but whether or not I am home. I expressed this to the landlord in my reply over text. He replied to reread my lease. I left them up overnight. I had orientation this morning and came back to find the curtains removed and nowhere in the apartment. I discovered this before entering the building, as 2 guys were outside one of my windows and looking in my apartment. They left when I entered the building. I messaged the landlord saying he didn't have the right to enter the apartment and asked for the curtains back. He again said to check my lease and then commented that I needed to finish unpacking as it looked messy in my apartment. I had to head to a work event so I couldn't follow through more, but I moved my electronics to one corner and used a bookshelf to block one of the windows so they weren't visible. While at the event I got a text from the landlord with a picture of the blocked window, captioned, "What's this? What can I do to prevent my landlord from entering the apartment unannounced and to compel him to allow some form of curtain? Alternatively, how do I break my lease 3 days into it? This is too crazy for week 1. Update. Privacy-hating landlord. It looks like I'm staying but I took control of the situation. Not long after posting, it became apparent at work that the length of time I would be needed on this project is significantly lower than outside estimates originally said. Finding new arrangements seemed impossible. I mentioned what was going on at dinner, and included at the table was the company's lawyer, who I know, who offered to review the lease on an unofficial basis. Wednesday morning, I called the police about the stolen curtains because I wanted a paper trail. They gave me a police report, but were uninterested in speaking to my landlord. I reported the theft to my insurance, gave them the info on who stole them, text from the landlord, and they said they would be contacting someone in the city. It's only $200, but that's the point of the thing. I next bought room dividers, which in no way shape or form can be considered curtains, blinds etc., but block the windows while still letting in light. They were only $40 each. At the same time I searched the whole apartment, vents, lights, etc., and can't find any cameras as someone suggested. By that time, my friend who is a lawyer called me. She did a little review of the lease and the local laws. She said Baltimore has really shaky laws on when a landlord can come in, but pointed out that in my lease there is a clause that says the landlord will notify 48 hours prior to entrance, and will call prior to entering in case of emergency. She drafted me a letter to send to my landlord. Her name won't appear anywhere, but said it can be on my company's letterhead. The letter details some of my rights as a tenant, quotes the lease and reminds him he is bound by these rules as well. I signed and sent it immediately. I had mentioned wanting a security camera, And my company is arranging to have a camera sent that will automatically upload video off-site, work for an hour battery life if the electricity is out, and operate on cellular, so it doesn't need Wi-Fi. It will be here tomorrow. I also made the decision to send my PS4 and my cameras back to my home. My personal and business laptops I will just keep with me while I am out of the apartment. This leaves the only real valuables as my TV and the security camera itself. Everything else is books, clothes, and kitchen things. I ordered a sign outside that says the property is monitored by security cameras, and got a jamb for the door that holds it closed while I'm inside. I'm prepared for the landlord to make my life hell, but if he breaks the lease, my plan is to ask the company to move me into an extended stay hotel for the duration of my trip. It will be more expensive for them, but that's company policy for trips less than 4 months. At the moment, I feel as safe as I can in this situation. Updates. Landlord texted me, "Sweetie, I didn't think you'd be like this." Responded, "I'm not you, sweetie, I'm your tenant. My name is Nee, please use it." Am I the asshole for hiding my boyfriend's anime body pillow while my parents were visiting? Original post. My boyfriend, M32, and I, F27, have been together for a year. He's only met my parents once over the holidays last year because they live pretty far away. They've been visiting this past week, and since he and I just moved in together, they were excited to see our new place and get to know my BF a little more. We have an extra bedroom, and this has become my boyfriend's gaming room for the most part, but we agreed when guests come over it would be a second bedroom. He really likes video games and anime in particular, so he has a lot of toys and artwork that he's collected over the years from different games and such. One thing he has is this anime body pillow that features a sexy anime girl on it. He also has a mousepad for his gaming computer that resembles a busty anime girl. Before my parents came over, I asked him to take down his toys and stuff so they could be comfortable. I was upset to see that he left the body pillow and the mousepad in place. I don't really feel comfortable with either item, but he's really into anime, so I've always kind of left it alone. But I absolutely didn't think it was appropriate to leave it there when my parents would be staying over. I took the cover off the body pillow and put the pillow in the closet, and I put the mousepad in a drawer in our room. When my parents arrived and we showed them to their room, my BF noticed the missing pillow and mousepad. Later, when we were in bed, he brought it up to me and asked why I hid them. I told him I didn't think my parents would feel comfortable with those things in the bedroom, and when they leave we can put them back. My BF got really upset. He told me that he feels like I'm ashamed of his interest in anime. He said he spent his whole life feeling like people think he's weird for being into anime, and he didn't expect his own GF to be just like everyone else. The next day I noticed him taking some of his manga books off our bookshelf and putting them into a box. I asked him why, and he said something like, "I'm putting them away so you don't have to look at them anymore." I feel really bad. I feel like I hurt him, but I just really didn't think my parents would feel comfortable sleeping in a room with those items. But now he's just acting so distant and cold, and he's not really engaging with my parents at all. They keep asking me what's wrong and I don't know what to say. AITA? Top comment. Talking mice. There's a huge difference between anime video game decorations and sexualized anime content. A busty mousepad and a sexy body pillow would most definitely make anyone feel uncomfortable. I get that it's his space too, but I think a small amount of compromise for a limited time isn't a problem at all. He might see it as you being embarrassed of his interests, but the reality is most people aren't comfortable with sexualized decor. It's not about anime at all. NTA, he really needs to have more consideration for others. OOP. That's exactly my feelings too. There's other stuff in the room that's anime gaming related that was left up, but it was more the sexual stuff I didn't feel comfortable leaving out for my parents. OOP is voted NTA update. Edit. Thank you for all of the responses. And sorry it took me a few days to update. I was waiting for my parents to leave so I could talk to my boyfriend about all of this. I read through the comments and it kind of validated something I already was feeling. Sexual decor aside, the way he acted the next day when he was putting the books away really bothered me. I ended up explaining the situation to my parents and they weren't exactly thrilled by his reaction either. I got the feeling after this trip that they don't really approve of him. Which is neither here nor there. I'm 27 and I'm old enough to make my own choices. But above everything else, my parents mean a lot to me. I never get to see them, and it was important to me that my BF would be present and treat them well while they were here. After they left, I drove them to the airport. BF refused to come. I came back from the airport and found a couple trash bags outside the door. Turns out that once I left, my BF started throwing all of his anime things into these bags. I asked why and he said something along the same lines as before, That clearly his interests weren't welcome in my home and he'd keep them in his car until he figured out what to do with them. I kinda snapped. I'd been keeping it together all week for my parents, but I had enough at this point. I told him I never asked him to get rid of his anime stuff, just that it wasn't appropriate for my parents while they were staying with us. I told him this reaction is unfair and he's being manipulative. I told him that this week was supposed to be about him getting to know my parents, but he was too fixated on this anime issue to even spend any real time with them. He then called me manipulative for making him believe that I was cool with his love for anime for the past year when I was clearly ashamed of it. He also said he didn't want to be a part of a family that doesn't appreciate anime. We went back and forth for a while and then I told him we needed space. I wasn't even really planning that, but it came out and it felt like the right thing for me. Well, he then started crying a lot and apologizing and immediately tried to take back what he said, but I was just done at this point. He left eventually and now I'm here in this apartment alone. Well, and the mousepad and body pillow, lol. He left those behind. Anyway. I don't really know if we're broken up officially or what, but it seems to be heading that way. I'm just feeling awful and I almost wish this all happened before my parents visited because I feel like it tainted the whole trip. But yeah. Thanks for the replies, guys, and for helping me open my eyes a bit. Editor's note, I couldn't decide if this one was concluded or ongoing. I've marked it as ongoing for now, but if people disagree I can change it. Am I the asshole for refusing to spend Halloween with my family after they ruined it for me years ago and now blame me for their DUI? Original post. As the title says, this happened on Halloween. I'm 25M and 5 years ago my parents wanted to go to my sister's house for Halloween. At the time I was still living with them, and I wanted to go to a party a friend was hosting. But my parents were adamant that I go with them instead because they wanted us all to be together. I still wanted to go to my friend's party and my parents suggested a compromise in which I go to my sister's party first. Then my friends. I figured it couldn't hurt to do both, so I agreed since I liked helping my nephews with trick-or-treating. And that year I was wearing an inflatable ninja costume I was really eager to have fun in. Well, I was ready and waiting in the costume for hours. And by the time we finally took the kids out, most houses stopped giving candy and there was hardly anybody walking around. And we only went around the block, that's it. Then when I wanted to go to my friend's house my parents guilted me into staying because they needed me as a designated driver. I would have driven them home first and then gone to my friend's party. But my parents just kept drinking and refused to leave. So I lost out on going to the other party and cussed my parents out for making me miss it and not even being able to enjoy my Halloween. They just said that it was too late and what could they do about it? They didn't even attempt to make it up to me. I refused to speak with them later. So they confronted me and I said I didn't even want to look at them because they broke their promise. Then I said that unless they could somehow pull a new Halloween party with all my friends out of their asses, then they had completely screwed me over. Then I left before they could say anything else to me. My friends were nearly as upset as I was, but my sister told me off and said I was callous because she had wanted me there. Ever since that year I only spent Halloween with friends. This year my parents begged me to go with them to my sister's instead. I asked why and they wanted me to drive them. So I refused and said they just wanted a designated driver. And they'd already screwed me over before and didn't even attempt to make it better back then. And I didn't want to just sit around watching them get drunk with the only real highlight being helping kids trick or treat. I hung out with my friends and we had a blast with a farmyard party. But my sister called me up on Monday furious at me because our parents were pulled over on their way home and got a DUI, and that this would have never happened if I had driven them. And now most of the family is pissed at me. So AITA for refusing to drive my parents to my sister's house for Halloween because of something they did 5 years ago. Relevant comments. Comment 1. While you're 100% NTA for anything your parents did, you are weirdly bitter about a party you missed as a 19-year-old dude. You were an adult, you chose to stay. Nothing was stopping you from leaving. You need to recognize that you are responsible for your own choices, something your family doesn't seem to be good at. OOP. No, I was stopped from leaving because I couldn't take my parents' vehicle. We rode together and they refused to let me just borrow their car and come back. The bitterness is because they lied to me and then showed no remorse that they did. Comment 2. This is weird. Have they just done it on these 2 Halloween parties? Or do they do this at other times? Why didn't your sister drive them? Or sister's partner if they're in the picture? If she has kids there surely has to be a sober adult there. Obviously it's not your fault your parents drove drunk. NTA OOP. They've driven drunk several times. I didn't mind driving them to some places. But then they wanted me as a designated driver all the time. And they only wanted me to drive their car, not mine. So I made it clear to them that I wouldn't be their driver if I had plans. Which I did. Update. My sister and her husband spotted my post a few days after I made it and called me. My sister said she's ashamed of herself and now sees my point of view. At first she was furious I made the post, but her husband chewed her out for not ever sticking up for me because he really had no idea my parents treated me this badly. And after they both read the comments she realized how toxic this whole dynamic was. At first she blamed it on the stress of being a mother. But quickly took that back and said she really has no excuse for never considering me in these situations. We talked and she remarked how I've always loved Halloween ever since I was a little kid. And she let my parents ruin it for me that day 5 years ago, even though she knew about the promise they broke. The conversation got pretty emotional and she apologized heavily because she had put the blame on me when she was the one who let our parents drink and drive year after year. I've got more details now. And my mother is actually the one who got the DUI. I'd assumed our father. But he apparently was so wasted that he was on the verge of passing out, and pretty much did as soon as he was in the car. Our mother insisted that she was okay to drive and then ran a red light. That's how a cop spotted her and she was arrested. The car was impounded and our father was escorted home by police to sleep it off. He woke up with a raging hangover and a temper to match. Then took it all out on my sister over the phone, and she in turn took it out on me. Our mother has had her license suspended, the car cost them $600 to get out of impound, and both of my parents were putting this on me. Until we all ganged up on them for what they've been doing. Our father fought us every step of the way. But we made it clear they've been putting their alcoholism above everything else and we're tired of it because there have been a lot of broken promises from them all around. Our mother promised to do better, but our father just stayed silent and wouldn't make eye contact with any of us. Things are tense now. But I'm glad my sister is finally on my side in all of this. Proposed to my girlfriend of 4 years, she said no because it wasn't a surprise. Now I'm wondering if we're on the same page about marriage. Original post. I'll start by saying I love my girlfriend a lot but she is definitely high maintenance. We've been talking about getting married for a couple of years now but I wanted to wait until I knew a wedding was something we could afford. I finally got a promotion and she found stable employment so I went out and bought a ring. We went on a vacation last week. The whole trip was very romantic, and I proposed to her on the beach which I thought she would have wanted. Turns out she expected it all along because the trip was so romantic and she said no. She wants me to try again but wants it to be a surprise this time. She also wants a photographer to be there to capture the moment. It was pretty fucking embarrassing when a few people came up to us to congratulate us and she was explaining why she said no. I'm not sure what to do. She wanted it to be a surprise but also wanted me to propose as soon as I felt ready to. We also talked about her ideal engagement and it's on a beach, yes, seriously, in a forest or in a field. I can't imagine any possible scenario where I could surprise her at one of those locations. She is not the outdoorsy type so it'd be unlikely she would be in any of those locations anyways. I explained my frustration to her and she just said, well if you want to get married you will find a way to make it work. It seems so bratty and immature and I'm not sure how to deal with her now. I'm still really pissed off about it. What should I do about this? Am I wrong to be pissed off? TL.er. Proposed to my girlfriend but she said no because it wasn't a surprise and there wasn't a photographer there to capture the moment. Only wants to get engaged if the proposal fits a very specific image she has. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Your girlfriend doesn't sound nearly mature enough to get married. Take this as a sign of your life to come and get out. OOP. I think you're right. I had been trying to justify it for her but judging by the overwhelming response I should probably break it off. Comment 2. Ask your good friends their truthful opinion on her, and make sure to let them know that they won't get a backlash for saying something bad. They know better than us. OOP. My friends can't stand her. Comment 3. Take the ring back to the jeweler. Does she want an engagement or does she want a marriage? I can totally see Bridezilla growing on her already. Yikes. OOP. Yeah, that's another thing. When we were talking about her dream proposal she was showing me her Pinterest for her dream wedding, and it's full of stuff we won't ever be able to afford. I told her it's unlikely our wedding would be like that, but we could still make it nice and she said she'd rather wait till we can afford her dream wedding. Comment 4. And by rather wait, I suspect she means nag you about either getting a better job or taking out a loan to pay for what she wants. Don't do this to yourself, man. OOP. Yeah, she told me I could start selling some of the furniture I make, which is something I do as a hobby that she wants me to turn into a second job. Update. Here's a link to my last post but it got deleted. To summarize, I proposed to my GF on a nice vacation and she rejected it because she knew it was coming and there wasn't a photographer. Thank you all for your comments and messages. Sorry I couldn't respond to most, but I read them all. I decided to try and talk about it with her one last time before throwing in the towel. I wasn't really expecting much, but I just wanted to see if she'd see my side. She lives with me, so I wanted to end things on a good note. She didn't understand at all. She was still saying I needed to work for it and she wasn't taking me seriously, so I broke up with her. Then she told me she accepts my proposal and we're just going through a rough patch, but we will work it out. She was really trying to get me to change my mind and was promising me she would be better to me. She completely ignored me every time I told her we're breaking up and was always yelling over me about how we were going to work things out now that we're engaged, and eventually I just got tired and went to sleep, thinking it was perfectly clear that it was over. I woke up Saturday to a whole bunch of messages. She found the ring and took a pic with it announcing our engagement and tagged me in it on Facebook. We got into another huge fight and eventually I just called her parents and told them to come pick up all her shit or it's going to the dump as soon as she leaves. They were surprisingly understanding. Her dad seemed really embarrassed by her, but they were a huge help. I know it's illegal to do that and I was supposed to actually evict her, but she got seriously violent and I didn't want her in my house anymore. She smashed my iPad and knocked my PlayStation off the TV stand and both are completely broken, so I didn't want to wait around and see what else she would do. She wouldn't even give me the ring back. Her dad had to guilt her into it. It was pretty pathetic. So that's the end of us. Really sucks I wasted the last 4 years with her, but I guess it was better to get out now. It's nice that I can hang out with all my friends again. A girl I'm friends with asked me out on a date, so that's what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm actually pretty nervous. I know it's way too early, but even if it doesn't work out, it should be fun to start dating again. TLDR, broke up with GF, and she decided that meant we were engaged, then she threw a fit and broke my iPad and PlayStation relevant comments. Comment 1, a girl I'm friends with asked me out on a date, so that's what I'm doing tomorrow. Too soon, bro. OOP, she knows the entire situation. It's not serious. She told me years ago she had a crush on me, but we're good friends now. Who knows what will happen? Comment 2, perhaps this is why your crazy ex did not like your girlfriends. OP, yeah, that's what started it. I don't blame my girlfriend for that. I shut my friend down then and told my girlfriend about it because I didn't want to keep things from her. I don't think I did anything wrong in that situation, but after that she didn't want me talking to any women. My ex kicked me out mid-road trip, now demands I drive 2 states to return a watch he stashed in my bag to test me. Original post. So yeah, like the title says, we were both remote workers and decided that we could van life and see things while still working. We lasted about a month and last week he flipped out over the way I sipped my coffee and told me I had to leave. I thought he meant like we would pack up and figure out how to get me home. No, he meant I needed to get out with all my shit in the middle of a state park in New Mexico and figure it out. I was scared and pissed, so I hurriedly packed everything and got out. A very nice older couple had heard the screaming and saw me with a pile of my stuff and asked if I needed help. I said yes, and they said they would drive me to Albuquerque in their RV and we could figure out what would happen next. Well, it turns out they are the sweetest people ever, and we eventually came to the conclusion it would be easier for me to travel with them home to Kansas, and now they've allowed me to stay paying them insanely fair rent, food, etc. I just have to edit the wife's book and help the husband with his guitar playing. Well, it turns out in the hurry of packing I grabbed my ex's watch. That was his dad's. I got in touch with him and told him I was sorry. It was truly an accident and I had no intention of keeping it. How would he like me to get it to him? He said I needed to meet him in Utah. I said that was ridiculous. I could send it to him. He said that it was too valuable to trust to mail or FedEx and needed to be hand-relieved. I said I was in Kansas and not coming to Utah, but I would return the watch to his brother when I go home in March. He said no, the only solution was for me to drive it to him. I said I didn't even have a car. He said, you're probably fucking half of Lawrence, use one of theirs. At that point I blocked him. The watch is pretty valuable and has a lot of sentimental value and I will return it. It was my oversight that I have it in the first place. What are my obligations to follow his instructions to get the watch back to him? Edit. Wow, this blew up. For the people asking, it is a lower-end Rolex watch. It still has all the original box and even receipt when his dad bought it, but it was well worn, so he's never been sure how much it's worth. I guess a few hundred, maybe 1,000, so I'm not sure. I'm not going to keep it or destroy it since it's not mine in any way. Top comments. Comment 1, you gave reasonable options. Let's say he files a police report that you stole it. You have proof that you contacted him and asked where you could send it. He declined. Comment 2, dude sounds like a psychopath. Do not under any circumstances willingly meet up with him in person ever again. Don't let him know where you live. This level of douchery is a sign of something being very off and you don't want to be there again when he short circuits again. You were extremely lucky to have found the people you did. Who knows where you'd be if that had not happened. Update. So I posted exactly a week ago. Link below, but the short story was I was van living with my ex-boyfriend. He kicked me out after a temper tantrum and I caught a ride with some awesome people. I discovered I had an ex's dad's watch that had lots of sentimental value. I told him, asked where I should send it. He demanded I drive from Kansas to Utah and return it even though I don't have a car. Well, so lots of mixed advice, but most people said the best option was to contact his brother. Before I did that, I decided to unblock my ex just to give him one more chance to give me an address where I could ship the watch. Actual text conversation. Me? Hey, I'm sorry I blocked you. I just didn't appreciate the insults, but I want to get her dad's watch back. Can you let me know where to send it? I'll pay for shipping, no problem. Like less than 30 seconds later, him. I stashed the watch in your bag because I wanted to prove to myself what an awful person you are and do a good job at proving me right again. I was like, wow, so many people in the original said that he probably put the watch in my stuff as I was packing in order to force communication and force the opportunity to see him again. Well, you were exactly correct. I didn't even respond to his text and blocked him again. I have no intention of keeping the watch, so I decided now it was time to contact his brother, who, along with his wife, has always been very nice to me. He was super appreciative and we spent a couple days going back and forth figuring out the shipping, but the watch arrived to him on Friday and all is good. He even Venmo'd me $1,000 for being so honest, contacting him, etc. I make really good money, so I told him it wasn't necessary at all, but he insisted, so we agreed to donate it to a food pantry here in Lawrence. But I'm still so creeped out thinking about the day when he kicked me out of the van and he was screaming at me, calling me all sorts of names, and he was planning to stay in touch with me. He was slamming all my stuff into bags, but that was cover for him hiding the watch. The fact that it was so deliberate yet he thought of it so quickly is so scary to me. We got along so well before we left and he always seemed like such a great guy. I don't know if the confined space of the van is too much for any couple or if it brought out a side of him I didn't know was there. Makes me sad and scared at the same time. But relieved it's over. Relevant comments. Comment 1. He framed you? To prove to himself that you were awful? He's dumb enough to fall for his own frame job? I really truly can't wrap my head around how stupid he must be. Comment 2. What I don't get is his logic that this would prove OP's a bad person. How the fuck was she supposed to know about the watch when you kicked her ass out in a state she didn't know about it until after she got to safety, possibly thousands of miles away? Like you thought she was just gonna be running back to you? Fuck that dude. Comment 3. I think in his batshit crazy mind she was bad to not instantly head to Utah to return it. He's clearly insane. My ex-girlfriend opened up 2 credit cards in my name after we broke up. She ran up about $7,500 in debt, and her current boyfriend is now threatening me. Original post. My ex and I broke up a little more than a year ago. We lived together for a couple of years and I know she would have had access to my financial information. When we broke up, I moved out of the house we were renting and I thought I had everything of mine. Back in February when I was doing my taxes, I realized I could not find my folder with my previous year's tax returns anywhere. I assumed it got lost in the move and didn't think anything else of it. Last Friday, I got served for a lawsuit to the tune of over $5,000 for a defaulted credit card. When I went and actually pulled my credit, I saw that card had been defaulted since May and there was another one which had been closed since June for about $2,500. Seeing as I had no knowledge about this, I immediately disputed both of the accounts on all 3 bureaus' websites. I was able to talk with someone for one of the cards and they said it was opened in January, well after I had moved out of my old house, and the cards were sent there. I received the statements from the one card and it was probably 80% Nordstrom Macy's, 2 of the stores my ex loved shopping at. Pretty sure she was the one who opened the accounts, probably used my social security number from the old tax returns. I called my ex about it and she denied everything, even when I told her that eventually, if she had anything shipped to the house using a stolen credit card, she's going to get found out. She flipped and started screaming at me saying I can't seriously accuse her of anything and to never talk to her again. About 20 minutes later I get a call from a blocked number. It was her boyfriend threatening to make my life a living hell unless I stopped harassing her by claiming she stole my identity. He hung up but I was shaken up about it. I can see he's got some serious felonies just by looking at the public records on the county website. I'm kind of stuck here. I'm opening myself up to retaliation if I go forward with anything from someone who has charges of aggravated arson and aggravated discharge of a firearm, in addition to a few battery charges. I can't just not do anything though. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Relevant comments. Commenter. Copying this for every identity theft situation I see on here, since it seems to happen a lot, where you know who the person is who stole your identity. This is all information you can find in this sub and others. 1. Call the police. You're the victim of identity theft, plain and simple. It doesn't matter who did it or what your relationship is to them. They broke the law, now they have to face the consequences of their actions. 2. Freeze your credit. You want to make sure it doesn't happen again, take the proactive route of freezing your credit. 3. Monitor and track your credit. You need to be alerted if anyone tries opening a line of credit in your name. This gives you a way to do it for free and it shows your credit score. 4. Warn anyone else who might be a victim. This includes family members or anyone else whose social security number might be compromised by the thief. 5. Take the police report to the credit bureaus. Give them the report number when you dispute all of the accounts. Most of the time, that will be enough for them to take the accounts off of your credit. It's on the creditors themselves to prove the accounts are legitimately yours and the bureaus aren't going to get in the middle of it. A police report goes a long way in clearing up your credit. Don't take identity theft lying down, even if it's someone close to you. If you let them get away with it, get ready for 5. 10 years of bad credit, collection agencies coming after you, lawsuits, etc. For this specific case, you need to go to the police like now. This guy seems like an incredibly violent person. I would get a restraining order as soon as possible. Does he know where you live? I also would not contact your ex at all about anything else. Let it all go through the court system. OOP. I plan on calling the police. I was just kind of freaked out about the whole situation. How do I get the police report to the credit companies? Commenter 2. File a police report for the fraud. Contact the lenders and provide the police report number and jurisdiction. Let the police bank sort it out. Provide all that info to the lawyers that filed the suit and bring it all to court. Do not skip a court date. Update. I followed the advice in the comments and went to the police. Quick and painless process, I was in and out in maybe 30 minutes with a report number. I never received another call from my ex or her BF. I gave the report number to the credit card companies and the credit bureaus. I was told I didn't have to do anything else at that point but to show up to the court date for the lawsuit. I learned through a mutual friend today that my ex was arrested this morning. Apparently the county put out a warrant for her last week, pulled her over on the way to work. It looks like she was charged and released pretty quickly. Also, I learned my ex and the BF who threatened me are no longer together. I don't think I have to worry about him anymore. The court date for the lawsuit is later this month but everything has already fallen off my report. My score has gone up probably 200 points. I'm still going to the court date just to make sure everything is good but it's looking like all good news from here on out. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. That's awesome news. Your story will also serve as inspiration for others to pursue justice when they've been wronged. Commenter 2. Make sure you put a freeze on your SSN with all 3 credit bureaus, if you haven't done so already. Am I the asshole for kicking out my dad after he said he couldn't afford to feed me anymore? Original post, throwaway. Here's the backstory. 28M, I got my own house now. Moved out at 18, not really by choice, my dad basically pushed me out. Our relationship's been rocky since then. He's always been a huge drinker and smoker, which caused plenty of issues back then. Fast forward, he lost his house a couple of months ago, and didn't keep up with loan payments. So he calls me up, says he needs a place to stay while he gets back on his feet. I laid out a few ground rules. Either pay rent, $400, or cover groceries, about $250-300, and absolutely no smoking in the house. He laughs, says I'm your father, I shouldn't have to pay. But I don't budge, so he reluctantly agrees to buy groceries. From the moment he moves in, it's just one problem after another. Leaves a mess everywhere, doesn't clean up, smokes inside even though I made it clear that's a no-go, and drinks like there's no tomorrow. Then one day, I have a girl over. And he just has this meltdown over it. So I tell him, listen, if he can't respect my space, he'll have to find somewhere else to stay. Things settle for a bit, but last week, he hit me with I don't have the money to buy groceries this month. I'm like, why? He says, well, you eat a lot. And admits he spent all his cash on smokes and drinks. That was it for me. I was done with him acting like he owned the place, done with the flashbacks to dealing with him as a teen. I told him to pack up and leave. So, AITA? I set clear boundaries, he didn't follow through. Edit. I never thought my post would garner so many reactions. I'm glad I'm not TA, and thank you all for your support. I'd like to clear out a few things. No, we didn't have a formal contract when he moved in. It was oral-based. Kicking him out won't be easy, as police don't tend to offer much support to a son in relation to the father. The societal response is that a son should take care of his old parents. This was one of the reasons I agreed to take him in. Like if I could do something good for him, maybe he'd change his view about me. The feeling of being validated by my own dad after years of neglect was strong. NGL. I see now how foolish it was to take him in. How would I get him out if he refuses to leave? He would go out to buy his supplies, I'd change locks the moment he leaves, and go out too. If he breaks anything, then it's cop time. AITA has no consensus bot. OOP was NTA relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA, his I shouldn't have to pay showed his respect for you before he even moved in. Give him a month's notice maybe, but that is as far as your charity should go. OOP, I gave him until the first week of November. The only things he actually needs to pack are his drinks and smokes. He had stored almost everything from his house in storage. Commenter 2, NTA, kick him out. Apparently, losing his own house wasn't consequence enough for him to realize that he needs to change some things in his life. So, as he disrespected your reasonable rules, he needs to feel the consequences by losing the place he could stay again. And in case he gets family and friends involved, what inevitably will happen, you can tell everybody who says you should let him stay, that they are welcome to open their home for your dad and offer him to stay with them. OOP. I'm already painted black in front of most family members. I don't know what they're going to tell me which they haven't already said earlier. LOL. Commenter 3, NTA. I'm guessing at some point he's used the phrase, my house, my rules, and that's a sword that cuts both ways. OOP. He did. He most definitely did. Update. He moved out today. Sorry to disappoint y'all, but the process was surprisingly peaceful. The day of the last post, my dad told me he needed to talk. I braced myself. What he said was totally unexpected and welcome for me. He said that he couldn't bear the disrespect I've shown him, and he was never going to contact me again. His words, you failed me as a son. I told him if he needed help in the future he could contact me, but he must abide by some conditions. He scoffed and said he was leaving soon and didn't talk to me again. He left today. As I said earlier in the first post, he had little to pack, and had most of his possessions in storage. He didn't tell me where he was going and didn't bid adieu. No, I was comfortable with it. A toxic part of my life was being erased. I'm feeling a different kind of freedom, which I haven't felt even after I left home. Where he goes now is none of my concern, although I would have liked to at least know where he's going. Oh well, this is the update. Maybe a bit disappointing for this sub, but I personally am very relieved how this played out. Thank you all for the advice and all the responses, this meant a lot. Back to lurking with my main account. Peace. Top comments. Commenter 1, we can only be thankful when the trash takes itself out. Grats on your newfound peace. Commenter 2, change the locks and monitor your credit history for a while. Better to be safe than sorry. Congrats, and I hope you make the list of your independence. Commenter 3. Actually, I'm glad that it was a peaceful exit. I'm even more glad of how you stood up for yourself and didn't fall for the okie dokie tried to hit you with. You did a lot of growing to refuse to fit back into the box of being a child in regards to dealing with him. You're an adult, and if he has a problem accepting and respecting that, then leaving was what he needed to do, and it's good that he did. Bravo. Editor's note, marking this as concluded since OOP's father has moved out of the house and OOP also deleted the throwaway account. Karen claims to be the owner's wife in my parents' restaurant and ends up embarrassing herself. I am 18 years old. We offer snacks, cakes, candies, and several fast items in the small restaurant my parents run. Let us just refer to it as Joe's. It was named after my grandparents. Yes, I do pay. Normally, I hang out there with friends to have something whenever I have free time, and this helps them to pay as well. Working at Joe's pays me, especially on the weekends as it gets really busy. I pick orders and assist others with service. We do indeed have staff members. Along with paying me for the hours I work, my dad lets me keep the tip money clients leave after dining. Few of the frequent patrons are aware that my parents, the proprietors, also work there. I am the son of the owner. People commonly confuse them, nevertheless, for employees. One weekend, a woman, probably in her 30s or 40s, entered the restaurant with her bratty child, who appeared to be roughly 13 years old. Given it was the weekend, the place was somewhat packed. She was advised to take a seat on one of the waiting seats. About 20 minutes later, She sat down at a ready table. I went to get her order. I can't precisely recall what she ordered, perhaps a sandwich or something. I handed the order to the kitchen and stood next to the register monitoring whether anyone needed anything. Her bratty child was running around the restaurant, yelling, running over people, treading on their feet, even touching their food. Naturally, the mother seemed unconcerned and preoccupied on her phone. This infuriated me much, hence I grabbed the child by his hand and angrily instructed him not to run in such a strong manner that he started crying and ran back to his mother. Fuming, the mother stripped across to me. The discussion proceeded as follows. "How dare you touch my child?" the entitled mother says. "Me? He was flitting about upsetting other individuals. Surely you noticed he was handling their food." "Well, he's a child," says the entitled mother. "He is free to do as he likes." "Me? Well, yeah, but under my supervision." "Do you even know who I am?" the entitled mother asked. Thinking, asterisk. Here we go again. Knowing what was about to happen, I chose to participate, asterisk. "Me? No ma'am, I'm not." Entitled mother. "Well, then you ought to know. I am the owner's wife. You're getting fired, so you made a big mistake and I will make sure your face won't be seen here again." I started to find amusement at this stage. I assumed she would say she was a friend or sister of the owner, but she opted for asterisk wife asterisk, hence now I could have some fun. "Me? Ma'am, I doubt you even know his." She served me. "His name is insert my dad's name here," says entitled mother. She knew my dad's name, which startled me since only a small number of people knew that fact. "Me? Ma'am, please don't get me fired. I'm so sorry I was nasty to your son. I just have this job." Entitled mother. "You should have considered that before you touched my son." "Me? But ma'am, he was frustrating." She once more cut me off. Title mother. "Shut up." She marched across to the cashier and insisted on talking to the manager. Coming out, my dad asked her what was happening. Entitled mother. "Your staff member has been buzzling my son. I want him to be let go right now." I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but I can't just fire him without reason," my dad answered after staring at me then back at her. "Do you even know who you're talking to?" Entitled mother asks. "The owner of Joe's is married to me, hence I find this staff unacceptable." My dad smiled the most of all. Entitled mother. "Why are you laughing?" "I am sincere. Dad, I apologize for any trouble once more. Are you looking for a refund?" The entitled mother entered complete fury mode and exclaimed, "You know what? I'm grumbling about you and your company on my phone to my husband. We'll have you sacked right now." We posted it on a board outside for home delivery orders, hence she picked my dad's phone number. She gave that number a call. My dad's phone rang. Shock rocked Karen, the entitled mother. Taking up the phone he said, "Hello, this is Joe's owner, how could I assist you?" As if all the blood drained from Karen, her face turned from red to absolutely white. "Yes, I am the owner and manager of Joe's and you are not at all my wife," he said. "And my son is the employee you wish sacked." She stared at me, and my laughter started to flow uncontrolled. Her order came ready just then, but by then she was already ashamed enough. Her child was wailing all through the backdrop. We still giggle about her dragging him out by the arm, not following the instructions, and without even taking the order. Man, I find it hard to understand how long OP let this continue before saying anything. He actually had not really needed to say anything at all. She called the number outside and spoke with the owner personally, hence the only reason the entitled mother discovered he was the son of the owner and she was not the wife. She chose the wife role straight ahead instead of other possibilities like OP considered, such as becoming the sister or friend of the owner. She simply asserted, rather boldly, to be the wife of the proprietor. I wouldn't have been able to resist shouting something like, "Mom, you finally came home," remarked one of the funniest remarks, then tried hugging her while faking tears of joy. Following up, someone remarked, "That would be awesome and hilarious. And I have a younger brother as well. Were you expecting Dad when you left? Is he a half-brother?" Better still, the larger the scene is. People begin by pulling out their phones and filming the entire event. Tell me what you would score this entitlement level 1 out of 10 and down below in the comments. My girlfriend keeps a spreadsheet tracking every spider in her apartment. I got her a pet tarantula, and now she's feeding them to it. Original post, my GF, M31, F27, and I have been dating for just over a year. This sounds so cliché, but she is almost perfect for me. She is really into health and fitness, has an excellent career that she worked really hard for, is great in bed, kind and intelligent. But, she lives in a basement suite which is nicely decorated and she keeps very clean. Any of you that have lived in a basement suite before know that, no matter what you do, you get bugs. Ants, piddlebugs, beetles and spiders. I spent a fair amount of time at her place and noticed right away that there was a spider in almost every corner. I asked her about it and she told me she doesn't kill them because they eat the other bugs. Okay. I did some light research and sure enough she was right. I found it a little creepy but not a deal breaker. Here's where things get weird. About a week and a half ago I was using her computer and noticed a spreadsheet called Babies. Curiously got the best of me and opened it. She lovingly named all of the spiders, kills the other bugs and feeds them to the spiders and keeps track of it all in a creepy rear-end spreadsheet. She keeps track of their food, their color, size, web size and some other poo-poo that I didn't really understand. I closed the spreadsheet after I realized what it was about because one felt bad for snooping and was honestly pretty disturbed. I really love her and don't want to break up but I'm afraid that this is a sign of mental illness. Has anyone ever heard of anything like this before? Should I say something to her? Is it okay for me to ask her to stop? Is this really that big of a deal? TLDR, GF is a crazy spider lady. Edit, 1 No I'm in rear end in a top hat for snooping. Edit, we live in Australia. Relevant comments, deleted. I think the big takeaway from all this is that you should never, never, kill a spider around her. OP, no shit. Hey LOL Wolfhawk 706, you're 31 and you're unsure how a little interest in your girlfriend for over a year makes you feel. She's just logging spider data, heaven forbid she ever does anything truly bizarre, you might go into shock. OP, you don't think it's weird? At all? Pancake_ice. So long as she isn't bulking them up to have a spider fight club I think you're okay. Yes, it is weird, but I think collecting stamps is weird. I suggest asking her about it. Apologize for snooping and ask her, but don't accuse her, why she enjoys her hobby since it is freaking you out so much. Top comments. JDune02, honestly, I think this is an adorably bizarre hobby. Let her have her quirks. This is pretty goddamn harmless in the grand scheme of things. Or, freak out over this, confront her and break up in 6 weeks. Your call, dude. Edit, OP, you do realize that people collect spiders, right? It's a legit and perfectly acceptable hobby. If the spiders were in cages, you probably wouldn't think twice about this. She's basically just a free-range spider collector. Big whoop. Amber 626. I had a huntsman in my house for about 6 months. I named him Jeffrey. I was absolutely terrified of spiders since I was little, so having Jeffrey around was great. I learned that he didn't want to bother me at all. I watched him hunt. It was super interesting. Learning about your fears is an awesome way to confront them. Perhaps this is what OP's GF is doing. Either way, it's a pretty awesome way to learn about them. OP, ha 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 ha, maybe I can convince her to cage them. This is so fucked. JDU02. This is so fucked. Oh my sweet summer child. If this is blowing your mind, then I'm worried for you. Update April 3, 2015, original post. GF won't kill spiders in her apartment. Found a spreadsheet on her computer named Babies, keeping track of all of the spiders in her apartment. So I took all of your advice and tried to embrace this part of her life. It was our anniversary last week and I decided to get her a spider-themed gift. I was at the mall and one thing led to another and I ended up buying her a pet tarantula and an aquarium for it. She loved it but I noticed the beloved spiders disappearing from around her apartment over the last few days. I asked her about it and it turns out she's been killing them and feeding them to her new tarantula. I don't know how I feel about this. First she is calling them babies, and now she is killing them. I'm just trying not to think about it and hoping she doesn't find a better BF to feed me to one day. LOL oh well. TLDR, I bought my spider-obsessed GF a pet tarantula and she is slowly feeding her smaller spiders to it. Edit, someone sent me a helpful message about spider food, care, etc. And it occurred to me that she might not be able to afford real food for it. Although she has a higher salary than me, she is aggressively trying to pay off student loans so has virtually no extra money. I'm going to buy her a gift card for the pet store tomorrow. Thanks Reddit. Edit, apparently spider food is very cheap. Still gonna get her the gift card in case it needs anything else I didn't think of. Relevant comments, deleted. That was a thoughtful gift. Good job. Big spiders eat little spiders. I wouldn't worry too much about it. She has a real pet spider now, one that you gave her. It sounds like you solved the problem of having wild spiders walking around the apartment and you made your girlfriend happy. Everybody wins. Oopie, thanks. Deleted. LOL you gifted her the spider, so it is something that is way more important to her than the so-called babies. Take this as a sign of her love for you. Ooh pee. I hope so. Thanks. She named it Fluffy and, unfortunately, takes it out of its cage quite often. She will hold it while we are watching movies on the couch. Lol, I pretend not to be afraid of it. My wife's creepy hobby turned into a full-blown conspiracy. She even planted evidence to ruin our neighbor's marriage. Original post. Okay, this sounds insane, but I swear my wife is totally normal otherwise. Which makes this so strange to me. For context, we're both in our later 30s and live in a pretty typical suburban neighborhood where we all know each other. My wife has always loved trashy movies and shows about infidelity, and she eats up true crime about spouses killing their cheating partners too. She just says something about it that makes her morbidly fascinated, in her words. Well, a couple months back we had a scandal in our neighborhood where a married couple in the neighborhood divorced because the husband cheated. No, there wasn't a murder or anything like that, but she became obsessed with learning every detail from every neighbor. No matter the occasion, be it a baby shower or cookout, she would bring it up hoping there would be any new information. A month later is when I stumbled on the board in her home office. I was doing some cleaning and I found a massive bulletin board facing away, leaned up against the wall. Curiosity got the better of me and I turned it around to find a literal fucking conspiracy board of all our neighbors' pictures with lines of yarn connecting each other like the fucking Pepe Sylvia meme. I was totally confused and asked where this was, and she told me it was a hobby she had started recently where she would track rumors or likely candidates for cheating on the board. The yarn represented who was possibly cheating with whom. She had clearly gotten all the images on Facebook or some social media and printed them out and even had a few sticky notes with details. I told her this was creepy and insane, and she said maybe if I was doing it as a man, but she is just having harmless fun as a hobby and she wouldn't be crazy and try to oust anyone based on rumors. She just likes feeling like a detective. She told me to view it like a creative art piece. I was still super weirded out but let it go, or tried. I thought about it a lot. Well, every now and then I admit to checking the board when cleaning, but just a couple days ago I looked to see that now I was on the board with a yarn attached to a neighbor's wife I am casual friends with. I asked her why she would add me if she thought I was cheating, and she said that was a different yarn color for potential matches for cheating. She said if it makes me feel better, she was planning on adding herself to the board soon. Well, I got pissed and kinda lost my temper about it. I told her to get rid of the board or our marriage will be in trouble. Things have been super rocky since. Sorry for the long post, I am starting to feel bad and it hit me more than usual this morning. Should I apologize to her? And before you ask, no, I don't suspect her of cheating. Honestly, I wish she was, because it would at least make more sense than this. AITA? Update. Anyway, Jesus Christ. Firstly, appreciate all of the concerns and NTAs. It gave me the courage to approach her and tell her that while I may have overreacted by threatening our marriage, I think it is a creepy thing to do. She apologized and said she would get rid of the board. I thought we were good. Literally 2 days later. 2 days later. Shasterisk, it hits the fan. Our happily married next-door neighbor finds a woman's bra under the bed that does not belong to her. It doesn't take long for the whole neighborhood to find out. Well, my wife is giddy, like jumping up and down for joy. She showed me the board, which she still didn't trash like she promised, and of course the husband was marked with yarn, meaning he was likely to cheat. She told me the board was accurate after all and maybe she should keep her hobby around. I was definitely suspicious, so I looked at the board again later. It looked different from the last time I saw it before the latest scandal. Instead of the yarn connecting to another neighbor, the cheating husband's yarn connected to a post-it with a question mark. Firstly, it was the only question mark there and I swore it wasn't there last time I saw the board. So either she changed it after the cheating to prove a point or slightly before it happened, which made me even more suspicious either way. Now I felt like I was the detective and I was going crazy. I went over to the cheating husband to ask a few questions. The wife was staying with her parents, so it was just the two of us. I asked him if he actually did it and he said no, he would never. Then I asked if my wife had been over recently. He said one day while you were at work his wife asked her to water a plant they had while they were both away and told her where the key was, so yes. I immediately raised an eyebrow. I asked if he still had the bra and he was getting nervous and told me not to get the wrong idea. I said don't worry. He still had the bra and I looked at it. It was my wife's, but one I knew she almost never wore because it was from a lingerie set I bought her one Christmas she said was uncomfortable. I told my neighbor I needed to talk to my wife and ran out, but I told him not to worry. I approached her with the bra and asked her what was going on. She played stupid, but I told her to cut the BS. I asked if she had either cheated on me with him or planted it there. Either way she was in trouble. She confessed to planting the bra and said it was to make me admit her hobby was valid, or something. I flipped on her. I said this was worse than her cheating on me because instead of ruining just our marriage, she ruined our neighbors and ours. I demanded she call the wife and admit to everything. Even sending pictures of the board. I even showed the Reddit post which actually helped convince her my wife had planted it rather than cheated with her husband. Well, they made up, but now I have no idea what to do. I am barely speaking to my wife and it is only a matter of time before the entire neighborhood figures this out. I seriously need advice. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I honestly refuse to believe this is real. Your wife is actually nuts. This is insane behavior to have. Comment 2. I was thinking just the opposite. This one is so original it's got to be real. No AI is going to come up with this insanity. That's left to humans. Comment 3. There's I am too interested in the neighborhood gossip. And then there's I planted a bra to ruin my neighbor's marriage and kept a detective board of cheaters. I could forgive the detective board and the gossip interest even if it's not my thing. But planting evidence for an affair is just cruel. Incredibly cruel. Who even thinks like that? I get uninvited from my brother's wedding, then get harassed by his family for not caring enough. Original post. This whole thing is so weird. I, 27M, am gay. I came out at 16 and my parents told me they would always love me, but to not mention it to my older brother who I'll call Brick. Then 19M 30M now. When I was confused and asked why, they said that Brick had expressed some awful opinions about gay people. I limited talking to Brick until I moved out at 18, which wasn't much of a problem because we were never close. I went to uni, got a good job, and an awesome boyfriend, 28M, in my home city. Me and my boyfriend Angel live a peaceful life. Peaceful until a few days ago when I got a call from my brother. I was concerned that Brick was calling me, as we have never messaged before, just had each other's numbers for emergency purposes. I picked up because maybe there was some emergency happening. He opened the call with an annoyed, "Hey man," and I knew something was up. He said he was getting married to his fiancée Yen, 24F next year. I didn't even know he had a girlfriend. I was like, "That's great, Brick," and asked some boring wedding things that he begrudgingly answered. He then told me invites were being sent out in a couple weeks, and that I could bring a +1. Here's where I made the mistake that started this mess. Without thinking like an idiot, I said, "Cool, I'll bring my boyfriend." Major mess up. Brick immediately started yelling insults down the line, screaming that he wouldn't have an FF slur at his wedding. I didn't say anything and just hung up. I was rattled by hearing those words from my own brother's mouth, even though I knew his feelings about people like me. I told Angel, and he comforted me, ordering in my favorite restaurant and watching movies with me, which was awesome. We went to bed later and I felt alright the next day. I sent my parents a message that Brick invited me and uninvited me from his wedding pretty much in the same breath, and went on my way to work, not a clue of the crapstorm waiting for me when I got off. When I turned my phone on again after my shift, it was blowing up. Messages and calls from my parents and relatives galore asking me what the F happened. I phoned my parents back when I got home and gave them the rundown of what happened and said I honestly didn't care because it's not like Brick would be coming to my wedding anyways. My parents immediately chastised me for my obvious disinterest and disregard of my brother's life, and told me I should be apologizing to him for bringing my personal life into his wedding. What? I basically told my parents to screw off and have been getting bombarded with messages from relatives to apologize to my brother and get my invite reinstated, and apologize to my parents for disrespecting them, but I really don't want to. Angel's reassuring me that I did nothing wrong, but it's still nagging me. AITA, relevant comment. OK_number_4988. Why did your brother sound annoyed at the beginning of the call? Did he already know? Or was he being forced to invite you by your parents? Seems weird. OOP, he's never been my biggest fan, honestly. We were very different as kids, like polar opposites, and he didn't like that. Very on brand for him. He definitely didn't know I was gay before the call. My parents have kept it very under wraps for years. In terms of if he was being forced to invite me by my parents, I really have zero clue. Update post. My OG post got locked was removed per some misunderstanding/confusion with the AITA mods while trying to post this update, but I'll just post it on my page here without an r/, if anyone wants to see it. Y'all have really opened my eyes on a lot of issues in my family. I apologize for only replying to a few comments. There's just so many of you. Big shout out to all the people who gave compliments to Angel. I showed him this post last night and he thanks you all. I've been showing him lots of love because he really is an angel. And to the people calling this fake, AI, cliche and whatnot. I hate to break it to you all, but this is just my life. It sounds cliche because this is the sort of all too real thing that happens to many people in the community. Just move along if you want to say that stuff, because you're honestly just wasting your time. One of two things I would also like to address is people questioning me about thinking I could possibly be the AH in this situation, and all I can say is that when you have a mass of people telling you you're wrong for what you did, it's hard to not maybe believe them just a little bit, no matter how absurd it is. Second thing, for people wondering how no one in the family knew I was gay, I really am not close with my extended family, as they all live in different provinces, and my immediate family never traveled. We really just send each other holiday and birthday messages and have brief conversations whenever those are sent, and I just never had the urge to come out to them. Anyways, on to the update. I decided I didn't want to let this sit for any longer. I took a day off work, and I added my parents, Brick, and all the family that messaged and called me into one big group chat, per one advice I saw here. I laid out everything that went down to them, in case they were told a different story by my parents and brother. I told them that I was going NC with my parents and Brick no matter what, and if they didn't apologize and realize what they did wrong, or I cut them off too. I turned my phone off and continued on without it for the rest of the day. Once I turned my phone on again, I had lots of messages from them. My parents were outraged, and Brick said nothing. Some of my extended family apologized and told me that my parents just told them I was mean to Brick about some of his wedding plan choices, which got me uninvited. Still trying to wrap my head around how stupid that is. Seriously think my parents might be Neanderthals. Anyways, the real story made others even more angry and more insistent that I apologize, and they were promptly blocked. I didn't answer any of my parents' texts, calls, and blocked them. I feel like I have a weight off my shoulders. I'm not concerned about my parents showing up at our apartment, as they moved away from my city last year. Me and Angel are planning a lovely trip, per advice of a lot of people that we thought was great, to France to visit his family during when the wedding will be taking place, which I'm very excited for. I've heard nothing but good things about them. This will most likely be my only update on this post, and I thank you all for your support. Am I the asshole for being disappointed when my boyfriend did not give me the first slice of cake? Original post, September 8, 2024. Why, 20F, AM from Brazil, and here it is tradition that in a birthday party the person whose birthday is being celebrated gives the first slice of cake to their favorite person after everyone sings the birthday song. This week was my boyfriend's, 24M, and he had 3 celebrations, one with his birth family, one with his adoptive family, and one with friends, which was a surprise picnic that I planned and organized. He has had a very difficult life and his moms are really important to him, as the adoptive mom saved him from starving as a kid and raised him, giving him a chance at life, and his birth mom battled very hard against poverty all her life, struggling and fighting to keep her kids alive and well. So of course I never expect him to give me the first slice of cake at the family celebrations. But then there was the picnic. I spent weeks planning and reaching out to all his childhood friends, making sure they would come. I went to bed at 2 a.m. the night before making him his favorite cake. I spent a shit ton of money with food, drinks and gifts. I didn't do it because of the first slice of course, but at all times I couldn't help but think, now is my turn. Turns out it was not. He has a best friend of many years, she and him are like brother and sister, they went through a lot of shit together. Like her losing her mom, him not having food to eat at home as a teen. And even though they are so close, they don't get the chance to see each other very often now, as they both are very busy with life and all its shit. So of course he took the chance to show her some appreciation. She was so happy, and, of course I understood the situation. He sees me every day and has the chance to honor me almost daily. He always makes me feel really loved and all, and he can't do that with her. Also, I understand he wanted to show her that him having a relationship does not mean she is not his sister anymore, a priority in that sense. I am not jealous, because I know there is nothing romantic between them. She is pretty gay and polygamous, he is the most monogamous guy in the world and he worships me. But I couldn't help but at least feel a bit, I don't know, do I need to explain? Maybe disappointed, maybe unappreciated. I feel like I can never be the most important person in the room. We always talk about getting married, we are each other's life and still, get me? And also, he did this in front of everyone. In front of all our mutual friends who don't really know her and all she means to him, so I also felt kind of embarrassed. I am just venting. I want to go home and cry a bit. I know I am being childish, but I guess I will keep it that way for now. Update September 8, 2024, 6 hours later. My boyfriend did not give me the first slice of cake. Update. Hi everyone, thank you for all the kind comments. Me and my boyfriend have very different energy spans, so I usually leave hangouts a lot earlier than him, which is what happened today. So I left, posted the story on Reddit, took a shower and started to paint my nails. About 3 hours after I left, my boyfriend called me. I picked him up and he was sobbing. Notice he does not have Reddit and he does not speak English, so he didn't know about the post, and I had not talked about my feelings with him yet. So he calls me absolutely pouring, saying he was going home and he has had the best day of his life. That he loves me so much for doing this for him, and spends the next 15 minutes talking between sobs about all the effort I put into the birthday celebration, thanking me for every single one of the things I did. Then he mentioned the cake slice. He said to me that throughout his entire life, because he has always had birthdays in his mom's houses, he had never given a first slice to his best friend, who went through all that with him, and that me being empathetic enough to let him do this was honestly one of the most special things I had ever done for him. He told me she had been going through some very important stuff and he was not around ever because of work and college, and she was feeling very left behind because of this, which is a huge thing since they are basically brother and sister. So the cake made her cry so much. It was the first time he had ever done this and she finally felt like he had not forgotten about her. And then, because I made that much effort for him, he asked me to rest. He told me that this next week was going to be entirely for him to show me appreciation. He asked me to please for once not sabotage him showing me love and pampering me because I feel like I don't deserve it. Because he was going to take his savings to take me out and spend the week giving me surprises. I know him well enough to expect some love notes. Him showing up to surprise me at my place, maybe even a song written for me. He also invited me to spend the weekend at his place, just the two of us. He lives with his family and they are all going to the beach, leaving the house empty. So that he can cook me dinner and give me one of his 1-hour-long full-body massages. They are my favorites. Then, after he said all that, I took the opportunity to tell him about how I felt today. He listened quietly, and when I was finished, he apologized, saying that he did not realize that was how I felt, that was not his intention. He just thought that did not mean as much to me as it would have meant for his best friend, so he decided to honor her that way and then honor me differently. With my Princess Week. But he told me he understood how I felt and that he was sorry anyway. We talked a bit more, but we got over the stuff pretty quickly and it all ended with us gossiping about the day, because two friends of ours who don't really get along very well apparently went back home together and half drunk after I left. Man, I love gossip. Well friends, I suppose that's my update. Maybe this is the day Reddit realizes that emotions are complicated and life is too, which is why small moments do not define a relationship or someone's feelings. How we react to the situation and deal with it does. I love my boyfriend, and he loves me a lot too, and that does not mean he does not have any family beyond me. That also does not mean I'm not allowed to feel sad. I have the right to feel what I feel and to be welcomed in that feeling. Being validated. I will marry this man, mark my words. My fiancé's quirky food choices are ruining our meals. Now she's disappeared after a fight. Am I the asshole for reaching my limit? Original post. Maybe I'm making too much out of this. Maybe it is a big problem and why I'm posting here. This has been going on since we've dated in college. I'll use last night as an example. I'm always a safe order guy, meaning I get chicken tenders, steak, a burger, orange chicken, etc. It's not that I dislike other food, it's that if I'm doing something crazy I want to buy it, prepare it, cook and serve it, be in control of the whole process. She always orders the special, the catch of the day, the taster's menu, etc. And she invariably says, I don't really like this, I should have just ordered what you got, let's switch. And she grabs my plate. Sometimes I'm able to eat her food, sometimes it really is bad and then I go hungry. I've brought this up with her and she has upfront told me she thinks it makes her quirky and fun, and I've known this since dating her. Last night we went to a sports bar after our league beach volleyball game and we're starving. I just wanted food so I ordered chicken tenders and fries. This dingy sports bar was having a snow crab special, which of course she wanted. I begged her to please just order something they couldn't mess up and she accused me of being so boring. Food came, her crab legs looked, smelled and tasted like they were rotting wax and of course she didn't want it and wanted my tenders. I finally stood up for myself and said no, she could send them back and order her own food. Cue massive fight. She accused me of wasting food, of not cooperating with her and not reading the room, whatever they meant. I told her that no, I was not doing it this time. She started crying and demanded to go home. I said no, I was so hungry I was eating my food. I think she got an Uber to a friend's house and I have not seen her since. I'm fed up. Is this breakup worthy and what should I do about this? Edit. We are engaged and live together. We also share credit cards and bank accounts. Top comments. Comment 1. She sounds insanely entitled and the mentality and temper of a 4-year-old. Why would anyone want to date someone like that? Comment 2. Because she's quirky and fun per as seriously though, she needs to act like an adult. Comment 3. I'm very Joey doesn't share food and if someone pulled this shit with me and expected me to let it slide because they thought it made them quirky and fun, I'd be gone. She sounds annoying AF, extremely entitled and also very slightly psychotic for expecting OP to go hungry. All because she's playing the part of a quirky, fun and adventurous foodie. I expect this has more to do with her testing his limits than just food as evidenced by her blowing up when he suggested, quite logically, she order something else. It's like she wants him to suffer to prove how endearing he finds her. OOP. To be fair to her, I don't think she expects me to go hungry. In fact, I'll bet she's never noticed if I finish her meal or not. Comment 4. That's telling if she doesn't even notice. Makes you wonder what else she isn't noticing about you in the relationship. OOP. I don't want to sound like a crybaby because I have made a choice with her, but yes, I do more of the labor in the relationship. Comment 5. It's only quirky and fun if she eats what she fucking orders. I realize you already know this, but why in the hell should you have to give up your food because of her bad gamble? At the core of it, it sure seems like a, let's see how much of my bullshit he will indulge test. I would say no more would be the correct answer. You haven't seen her since. I suspect she'll be back in touch, and you can give her an opportunity to apologize, but that shit is unacceptable. She owes you an apology, and I sort of doubt you're going to get one. OOP. Your second paragraph was what I've felt for a long time put into words. Thank you. Comment 6. If she's the one labeling it quirky and fun, it isn't. I want to try something, but she needs to order her own food. Who pays the tab? OOP. I mean, technically we both do since we have shared credit cards and bank accounts. Update. Reddit. I don't remember the exact timeline of how things went down on Sunday as far me posting, but original was locked when she texted me at 6 p.m. telling me that I owed her a huge apology for the way I behaved at the sports bar and the volleyball game. I still don't know what that is about. I asked her where she was. She said she would tell me when I apologized. I said I was not going to apologize. She said she needed some time to think whether this relationship was right for her. I told her that I was just exhausted by so much of what she does that I couldn't do it anymore. She hung up and I haven't heard from her since. She hasn't even been by to pick up a change of clothes, so I don't know where she is. I canceled all my credit cards we shared and opened a new bank account and took half out of our share, but she hasn't taken any money out or used her debit card, so I guess I'm a little concerned since for all effect purposes she's disappeared. I'm not too worried now, but if I haven't heard anything by Friday I'll call her parents. I kind of think she's doing this disappearing act for attention. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Wait. So to sum this up, she ignored your reasonable request to order food she knows she'll like, publicly threw a fit when you wouldn't give up your own meal despite being warned that's what would happen, yelled, stormed out, and has been MIA for days. Over a meal? That she could have easily sent back herself. Holy drama, bruh. Like, wow. Bullet dodged, huh? Can you imagine a whole lifetime of ridiculous public tantrums over easily resolvable stuff? Yikes. OP. Well, the meal and whatever it is I did to make her mad at the volleyball game. Comment 2. Text her to pick up her things by X date or you will have it sent to her parents. I think she is doing this for attention and all the more reason you were right to dump her. Tell her parents you broke up and she has not been in contact. Tell them that she did not tell you where she was, but could they check on her? Don't wait on that. The sooner you do this, the sooner you can get her out of your life. OP. Okay, I can do this. Probably a good idea. OOP made a final edit. Edit. I called her parents, they haven't heard from her either, and me calling them now has them worried because they thought she was with me. I'm going to drive her important things over to their house and wash my hands of her. Whatever happens to her is of her own making at this point. I laughed at Ray Farty, got uninvited to the baby shower I planned. Now my sister finally chose a sensible name for her baby. Original. My sister is due in early January and we're planning her baby shower for early December. She decided she wanted to use my mother's maiden name, Rafferty, as her daughter's name. Not a tragedy itself, and I guess it works as a unique name. But yesterday I texted my sister that I needed to get the custom items with my niece's name ordered ASAP so they would arrive in time for the shower. My sister then let me know they're going with an alternative spelling of Rafferty. I texted back, an alternative spelling of our mother's maiden name? My sister wants to spell it Raffarty. So I sent back a bunch of laughing emojis and she asked, what's so funny? I tried to explain that no one will pronounce that as Rafferty and she'll probably get plenty of the same mispronunciations. She told me I was being ridiculous. I texted back, My poor niece, little Miss Farty Ray. I was uninvited to the shower and my mom told me today my sister doesn't want me as the godmother anymore. But, like, Ray Farty is really bad, isn't it? Someone needs to tell her, right? Update. I don't know if updates are allowed here, but here it is and sorry it's long and I've been having a hard time submitting it. Is there a character limit? I'll try posting some and put the rest in the comments. So we had an intervention on Ray Farty. I know everyone said to send a link to the original post to my sister to show her that 103% of the global population would call her daughter Ray Farty and that would be the easiest thing to do, but some commenters said some pretty gnarly things about my sister that she doesn't need to read and feel worse about herself. But I wanted to address a few things that came up. First, for those saying I shouldn't bother paying for the baby shower anymore, I had no plans to not continue to pay and help out. Disagreements and fighting aside, I love my sister and want her to go into motherhood filled with love and support, regardless of whether she wants my support or attendance at the event. Second, my sister's husband was made aware of the spelling change of Rafferty to Ray Farty about a month before my original post. He said he didn't think much of it until he saw it written down and immediately saw it as Ray Farty too. He said her emotions had been getting worse throughout the pregnancy and he didn't know how to approach her about going back to the original spelling. He had hoped that once she gave birth, all the hormones would somehow leave her body, she'd come to her senses, and it would be a non-issue. Third, a lot of you were lumping my mom in with my sister and said some pretty horrible things about her too. All my mom knew was from my sister calling her to complain that I laughed at her for slightly changing the spelling. My mom just assumed it was a minor change like Rafferty until I told her to grab a pen and paper and I'd spell it out for her. Once she saw it was Raffarty, she was team save this child. Now for those of you who told me I didn't have any tact and my reaction was mean, my reaction was because 1. People would call the poor girl Ray Farty her entire life for the sake of my sister being quirky. 2. Pregnancy brain aside, surely my sister would realize her child will be called Ray Farty once it's pointed out, have a laugh, change her mind, and this will end up being a funny story to tell at her daughter's future wedding or something. And 3. My sister is a bit of a joker, so I also initially thought she was just pulling a prank or joking. But if she was joking, she took the joke really, really far. She spent $400 on a mural painted on one wall in the nursery. She wanted to debut the finished nursery to everyone at the baby shower, including her husband, who was forbidden to see it beforehand, that had Ray Farty incorporated into it that now needs to be repainted. She also bought herself a birthing gift. Is this even a thing? She'd have my brother-in-law present to her in front of everyone at the hospital. A $900 plus gold bracelet with RAEFART&Y charms. The baby book also has Ray Farty embroidered on the cover. I contacted my sister's best friend Katie, not her real name, if my sister has told her anything about the spelling change. She found out about Ray Farty after the blow-up with my sister, as my sister wanted to get Katie on her side. Katie, who's a teacher, was equally horrified about the spelling and told me this is the worst attempt at a creative name she's ever seen. The intervention of sorts, the Farty Party, if you will, included me, my sister, her husband, his mother and father, my mother, and Katie. My sister refused to believe anyone could possibly see Ray Farty as Ray Farty and that we were just mad that she was taking creative license and that everyone does that nowadays. My sister said children are not that cruel to bully her daughter for her name and Katie said plenty of kids are cruel enough and the others would join in so they're not singled out themselves. My sister countered that as long as all the adults are pronouncing it correctly that it'll be no problem and Katie told her that not only would the adults not know how to pronounce it to begin with, but that as long as fart is in the name, kids will latch right onto that. I was happy Katie was there because she's shared interesting names her students have had over the past few years, so I knew her opinion on this would probably be the only one to sway her. My sister cried for about 10 minutes and finally agreed to entirely change the name because even Rafferty was tainted because we had all ruined it for her. We told her to take her time to consider a new name. She told us she still wanted to honor my mother and she suggested she'd combine my mother's first name with her mother-in-law's name and created a name on the spot that included a crass term for a lesbian. When my mother pointed that out, she started crying again and accused us of not letting her be a mom and her husband suggested we leave it for now and we should all go and give her space. It's been radio silence until my sister texted me a couple of hours ago that she and her husband landed on Theodora and she is absolutely in love with it. She even decided that my unborn niece looks like Theodora in the ultrasounds. She got those creepy 3D ones done where every baby looks like the same copper potato. I replied that that was lovely and that I'm so happy she's happy. It's not my taste, but at least it's not Theodoru or some crap like that. So there you go, my niece has been saved from being called Ray Farty. I'm invited to the baby shower again, and I know this is just a little blip with my relationship to my sister and we'll be fine, but Katie will be taking over as godmother, which is fine by me. I can always be godmother to their next child, who will probably be named something like Tiramisu. Thank you all for seeing the same thing I did and letting me know stopping Ray Farty from coming into existence was the right thing to do. My daughter asked me to meet my granddaughter after 17 years. Am I the asshole for saying don't care for her or her daughter and to never contact me again? Original post, June 28, 2024. I am not sure if I'm an going to provide some background. I am in my 60s now. I was married to my ex-wife, and we had a daughter. Our marriage was going through its ups and downs, but I was really close with our daughter. But as our marriage was going through its difficulties, I made a huge mistake I still regret to this day. I started having an affair with my coworker. She was in a violent, physically abusive relationship at home. We became friends at work, and things just escalated from there. She got an out from me, she got the support she needed to file for divorce from her husband, who is currently in jail now. The affair went nowhere and we called it off shortly after, but I was glad that she got out of her abusive relationship and that she was safe. But when my ex-wife found out about the affair, things didn't go well. She lashed out and said a lot of horrible things about me to our daughter, who was 15 at the time. I admitted full fault with the affair, but even after the divorce, I sensed that the distance between me and my daughter was growing, until one day, my daughter said she wasn't going to speak with me anymore, and she was going to cut me off from her life forever. That was the most painful thing anyone had ever said to me. I begged her to please reconsider. I still remember that day. But time passed on. My daughter kept her word, and after trying to connect with her for the first year, I gave up. I found out from one of my mutual friends that my ex-wife married a great guy. I was happy because I was hoping that would remove the hatred from my ex-wife and my ex-wife would advise our daughter to at least rekindle a relationship with me. But that never happened. I moved states a year later. I am at peace now, but still have some aching sadness. I have retired. Both my parents have passed away. My brother passed away tragically a couple of years ago. To be honest, I am waiting for my turn. I have only my dog and my sister left. A couple of hours ago my daughter called me on my phone. I haven't spoken to her in 17 years. I instantly recognized her voice, but I didn't feel anything. No happiness, no sadness, just indifference. She was crying a lot on the call, and we caught up on life. She's married, and she has a daughter who's now 12. She apologized for cutting off contact, and she says her mom asked her to reconnect with me, as her mom felt guilty about how everything played out. She said she really wanted me to meet her daughter, and her daughter was constantly asking about granddaddy. But I wasn't feeling anything. After we caught up on everything in our life, I told her I don't care about her or her daughter, and to never contact me again. I then hung up. Was I the AITA has no consensus spot. OOP received the majority of YTAs, with few others. Comments: tidy nuggets. This is one of the most obvious YTA posts I've seen here, good fucking lord. Top palpitation 4681. Well, it's already been said, but you're the asshole. AFSpouse 123, YTA I hate when adults make very bad adult decisions that affect their children and then blame the children when they respond in a very childlike manner. Your daughter was a teenager. That is a rough time for kids even when their home life is stable. You gave her one whole year before you cut bait and gave up on her. Then you moved away. You told your daughter that she wasn't important enough to fight for and she believed you. Now that she is an adult with a child of her own, she has reached out to you and you again told her she wasn't important to you. She now knows she was probably right to cut you out the first time. OOP updated the next day. Same post, June 29, 2024. Update. Look, I was extremely drunk last night. The words which came out of my mouth weren't the best, and my comments on my post weren't great either. Seeing how everyone said I was the I decided to call my daughter again an hour ago. I didn't really expect her to pick up the call, but she picked up immediately. I apologized last night, and she said there was no need to apologize. I then sent her a link to this Reddit post on messages, and told her I know I was the and thousands said so. She again said I wasn't the She started crying again. I told her she's free to come to my house anytime the next 4 months, because after that I will be leaving the country with my sister and our dog. Our parents left us a nice farmhouse in their home country, and we will be spending the rest of our lives there. I sent her my address in messages, and my daughter said she'd come with her husband and her daughter by the end of next week. She asked if she was welcome to stay there for multiple days, and I told her she could stay for however long she wanted, as our house was spacious enough. Update 2. I have moved to the farmland, and am looking forward to spending the rest of my life here with my dog and my sister. It is peaceful and scenic. My daughter did come by to visit me with her husband and her daughter before I left the country. It was really nice seeing my granddaughter, who looked a lot like her mom. They stayed over at our place for a week, and we had a good time. However, it got a little sad when I told my daughter in private I had no interest in being a grandfather, and just didn't have strong emotions for it. I think those words really stung her, and my daughter did cry a lot after I said those words. My daughter wanted to rekindle our relationship, but it's just too late now. I told my daughter she's free to visit me in the farmland anytime she wants and the house is always open, but I doubt she'll be visiting anytime soon. The week she stayed over at my place before I left the country was a final goodbye for us. She has my number, but she hasn't called or texted since she left, and I haven't called or texted her either. That's the update for the many interested. This will probably be my only update. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm definitely about to be an outlier here based on these comments, and I'm going to stick to it. Based on the original post from 81 days ago, where not surprisingly most people called you TA, not only are you TA, you're a deadbeat selfish father and a cheater. You made your bed, you had a child and then cheated on your wife. You then blamed that child for your disgusting betrayal. And this is about to be odd after calling you TA, but I am proud that you decided to speak up and tell the truth. No child deserves to have a father who loves her so little, blames her for his mistakes, and now refuses to see her or his granddaughter because of his mistakes. Thank you for at least being honest that you are a terrible human being and not wasting her time. My husband knocked out my brother for insulting me, and now my parents are forcing me to choose between them. What should I do? Sorry for the throwaway account. I have colleagues on my main account and I want to keep this as private as possible but also need advice. As my title says basically. This past weekend me and my husband were over at my parents' house for a BBQ. The day was going great until my brother for some reason started to have a go at me. Calling me names and belittling me. My husband pulled my brother aside and had a talk with him and the insults stopped. An hour or so later we were standing around talking with some friends and family members and my brother came up to me and told me I'm a whore. His exact words were, "You know you are a fucking whore, right?" He said it loud enough for almost everyone at the party to hear. All I saw was my husband next to me look at me. Then I felt a push to the side, my husband stepping in front of me, and the next thing was my brother out cold on the ground with blood on his face. All I heard is my mother yelling and my husband saying, "You don't talk to my wife like that. I warned you already." Before I continue, my husband didn't hurt me. He didn't push me hard or anything like that. Don't know how to describe it, but it was like a push that someone will give you when they are trying to pass. I went like one step back, that is all. I am not mad at my husband. I'm mad at my brother. The whole day he was demeaning me, insulting me, belittling me. I don't know where this came from as he has never talked to me like that or to anyone that I know of. The bigger problem is that I have to choose. Either my husband or my parents. My parents are pissed and have given me an ultimatum. I either leave my husband and divorce him or they cut me off completely. My husband doesn't give a crap that they are mad. The only thing he is mad about is that he only got one punch in his words. I love my husband and don't want to lose him, but I also don't want to lose my parents. They have supported me through a lot and have always been there for me. I know they are serious as this is the first time they have ever issued me with an ultimatum. They also threatened my husband with an assault charge, but he didn't care and welcomed them to do it. I'm stuck between a decision that will change my life forever and I'm panicking. I have received messages for friends and other family members that have given me support and condemned my husband, but they are leaning more on the support side. Any advice will be appreciated? Edit: to clarify, I am choosing my husband. I have never questioned that, but I also don't want to lose my family. I am very family oriented and family to me is everything. I want to find a solution where I can keep both. Update. First, I would like to thank everyone and I want to apologize as well for the way I worded my post. It's no excuse, but my emotional state isn't the best. Unable to link my previous post, just look at the account. My husband is my choice and I have no intentions of leaving him at all. Never have. I know it's early for an update, but I'm more confused now about what is going on. My parents invited me over to have a talk with them, but they wanted me to come alone as they didn't want my husband at their house. My husband refused to let me go alone and said if he isn't going then he won't allow me to. He basically said with you alone there they will just pile on you and that I won't let happen, so we went together. My parents weren't happy to see him and my mother wanted to say something until my husband told her he isn't there for them but me, and if he is forced to leave I will leave with him. I agreed with him. Reluctantly they agreed. My brother was there as well. He has a broken nose and chipped teeth and refused to look at me or my husband. He just kept looking at the ground even while talking. Apparently what happened with my brother is that he broke up with his girlfriend a month ago. It's more like she broke up with him. Don't know the reason. Don't care. I wasn't aware of this as we aren't close like that. According to him, the reason he had a go at me this weekend is because of my life. According to him, my perfect life with my husband kept popping up on his feeds and he got jealous. Everything on my social media is with my husband. I don't really use it for anything else, but his feed was full of my posts and that set him off as I had something that he didn't. It got worse when he overheard me and my mother talking when I had a discussion with her over children. Me and my husband are currently trying to have a baby and that just made everything worse in his head. His life was falling apart and mine was going perfectly and I was trying to have what he wanted with his ex. He said he didn't take my husband seriously when he pulled him aside and my husband warned him. I seriously don't know why he went after me as nothing he said was true in any sense and I did ask him why he said those things. He refused to answer me. I asked him why the whore comment because he knows my husband was my first in everything and it has only been him all these years. He refused to answer. I asked him if trying to have a baby with my husband makes me a whore as it involves sex and he just left the room. I asked my parents why they didn't step in and tell my brother to leave or stop. My dad said he wanted to, but my mother told him to leave my brother as he is not actually hurting anyone. The same with the ultimatum, they wanted to protect my brother. I asked what about me and they were silent. All my father said was the ultimatum was my mother's idea and he went along with it. This is basically where we are at the moment. A lot more was said but I don't think it matters. My husband did apologize to my parents for what happened but refused to apologize to my brother. When my mother asked him to apologize to my brother he outright said no. He won't apologize for standing up for me and my brother got what he deserved. He was warned and didn't listen. My mother said it still doesn't excuse him for hitting my brother. My husband asked my dad what he would do if someone called his wife a whore. My father said I will have a talk with that person, but will never hit someone. My husband laughed and told my dad he is a weak-willed, spineless man if he allows someone to demean his wife like that. That got my mom red in the face. I could see her get angry. That is when I told my husband it's time to leave. I told my parents that I will be going low contact with them and the ultimatum they gave me broke the trust I had in them. I understand they wanted to protect my brother but in doing that they hurt me. This seemed to take all the anger out of my mother. They asked if I will be cutting them out completely and I told them that is up to them. I don't want anything to do with my brother at the moment as he can't even apologize for what he said to me. I told them if they can respect my wishes we will see. When we got up to leave my husband went over to my parents and actually still greeted them politely but told my dad it's time to grow a backbone. I don't know what I saw but I think it was a shame on my mother's face because my dad looked at my mother and she looked away from him. This is where we are at the moment. My husband on the way back home apologized for possibly escalating things but told me it was time someone told my dad the truth. He said whatever punishment comes he will take and deal with any fallout. I don't need to worry or stress about anything. Mysterious bloodstains in my bed lead to a shocking discovery. Hidden black mold in my attic room causing my hay fever symptoms. Let me just start by saying that I am a man, and so I don't get a period. I have been living on my own in Amsterdam for a while now. It's a nice little room in the attic. It's old, nice and feels very cozy. I don't live in a dorm, but I live with an older lady who has 2 cats. I'm allergic to myself, so when those cats come this way I chase them out the door. Now I have a problem. A few days ago I woke up with clothes on, my closet turned over and clothes on the floor. Shit. Sleepwalking can happen. Now things are getting a little weird. On the entire left side of my double bed, from head to toe, there is a long trail of blood. As if something bloody has been running over it. This can't be the cats because they don't come into my room at night and it also seems unlikely to me that an injured animal has been walking there because if something bleeds that much it should be visible somewhere else in the room, right? It also seemed unlikely to me that I myself bled a vertical trail in my sleep, but I didn't think anything else of it. I cleaned it up and that was that. But this morning, a few days later, I woke up blood everywhere again on that side of the bed. And with blood everywhere, I really mean a trail you can't miss. And the smell. I woke up because of the smell and not even my alarm clock. 6:30. I went to ask the housewife what she thinks this could be. She smiled for a moment and said, "Maybe your room is haunted." Well, that didn't make it better. I'm now sitting in the bathroom scrubbing that sheet again and trying not to throw up. I don't know what's going on here, but could this be a weird hazing problem? And by that I mean student hazing. Is this a normal thing they do in Amsterdam? Smear blood on your bed? I'm just saying. I'm from Brussels. I know there are weird things happening here. I don't get it at all, especially because I've scanned my whole body and there are no wounds anywhere. Has anyone experienced something similar? Is my room genuinely possessed? Sorry if this is a stupid question, but I'm kind of done with it. Relevant comments. Commenter, have read this before. Someone who had bled from his ears. You don't often see that, so it's logical that you don't see a wound. Have your ears checked. And place a camera if you're not sure. Maybe just block the door on the inside or something. OOP, I'm definitely going to do that. Good idea? I'll ask the doctor right after class today to schedule an appointment. Commenter, please go get a carbon monoxide meter from Action Praxis, those things are €10. Nausea and smelling things that aren't there, you mentioned sulfur, are both symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, plus the fact that this is happening in winter, so you probably have more heating stove on than normal. OP. I'm pretty scared of this now. I just checked the symptoms online and they do match. I'm going straight to the hardware store after class. Starting to get nervous about this, haha. Commenter. Perhaps something about bedbugs that you roll flat in your sleep after they feed. OP, yuck. It's on the comforter though. Don't think I rolled over them, but could have been an answer. Commenter, you specifically mentioned that the first time that you woke up with clothes on, different clothes therefore than you had fallen asleep with. Were there other weird things this morning or just blood? OP, yes, different clothes than what I went to bed with. I went to sleep in my pajamas, logical, and I woke up with my sweater and jeans on. I have never walked before, this morning only blood. Thank God. Otherwise I would have scheduled an appointment with the psychologist. Update. Few days later. Update. For the past few days I've been staying at my friend's house, see if it's mysteriously bleeding there too. I ordered a camera, and nothing happened. Until yesterday morning. I went back home, went to the doctor on the way because I suffer from hay fever, and once home just checked the cats for being in heat. Turns out they're both male, unfortunately. I set up the camera in a can, thanks to whoever advised that, and went into the space behind my room with a CO detector to measure it. The second I got in there I smelled a very familiar smell, exactly the smell that vaguely smelled like blood. Now that I know what it is, I would associate it more with meat, but the smell of blood came very close. Anyway, I grabbed the CO detector, shirt in front of my nose and put that thing to work. Nothing wrong. Anyway, I called my friend because the smell was very specific. She was there within an hour, and she too thought it smelled very strangely of blood. It's a large attic, which smells of blood and rotted flesh, and there are things everywhere in the dark. Of course my imagination ran wild. My girlfriend also started to get the jitters, and after an hour of pondering we decided to call the police. Well, they showed up on my doorstep after 4 hours, and together we went upstairs. The police also smelled the odor, and it was so convincing that some other special agents were called in before they went up into the attic. Very long story short. After a long wait and search they didn't find a body, but they did find mold. All over the wall against my room. Under the baseboards. On the roof. Black mold everywhere. Immediately relieved that my landlord wasn't a murderer, but black mold isn't a fun joke either. In the meantime, I've moved all my stuff and am temporarily living with my girlfriend until the problem is solved. Even then, I don't know if I'll go back, because the landlord wasn't very happy that I kind of suspected her of murder. But that's another story. It's funny because as the doctor said when I came in with my hay fever, it's remarkable that you're suffering from it now. He was right. The itchy eyes, the nosebleed in my sleep, yes it turned out to be a nosebleed, the sleepwalking, the tired days, everything in place. End of story. I do want to thank you all individually for your kind messages and earnest attempts to help. Thanks to you, I went behind the room to check that meter. I wonder if I would have found out about the fungus if I hadn't. Thanks so much really. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I get it's not as bad as a body, but the thought of there being black mold all around me in the walls, growing day after day is still skin-crawling awful. And I wish more people realized how shit hay fever, and other allergies is and how many symptoms there are. I think people think it's just sneezing a bit, not the weeks of misery some of us experience. Comment 2. The lady's reaction of, maybe your room is haunted. Makes me feel like she knew there was a problem but they just didn't want to deal with it. Which is why the landlord is unhappy. Since now the authorities are involved they have no choice but to clean it up. Am I the jerk for kicking out my sister's boyfriend after he rejected the dinner I spent hours cooking? Original post, September 15, 2024. So here's what happened. I, 28F, invited my sister, 25F, and her boyfriend, 26M over for dinner. I love cooking and have spent hours preparing this fancy meal. Homemade pasta, a slow-cooked ragu, a salad, and a tiramisu for dessert. I was really proud of it and excited to have them over. When they arrived, Everything was fine at first. We sat down, and I started serving the food. Her boyfriend, let's call him Steve, stared at the pasta for a moment, then looked at me and said, "I don't eat carbs." At first I thought he was joking, but nope, he was dead serious. He goes on about how he's super into keto, and carbs are the enemy. Okay, fine, that's his choice. But when I offered to make him a salad or something else on the spot, he refused and said that I should have known about his diet beforehand. This is where it gets weird. He then pulls out a small Tupperware container from his bag, filled with what looked like boiled chicken and broccoli, and starts to eat it at my dinner table while the rest of us are trying to enjoy the meal I spent hours making. I was stunned and, honestly, kind of insulted. I told him it was rude to bring his own food without mentioning it to me beforehand, and he should have at least given me a heads up. He then goes off about how people need to respect his dietary choices, and that I was being controlling by not accommodating his needs. At this point, I'd had enough. I told him, if you can't eat what's served and won't even let me make something else, then maybe you should just get out. He stood up, said something like, "I'm just trying to be healthy," grabbed his Tupperware and walked out. My sister stayed for a bit but eventually left too, saying I overreacted. Now my sister's mad at me, saying I embarrassed her boyfriend and made them both feel unwelcome. My mom thinks I should apologize, but my friends are on my side, saying Steve was being incredibly rude. AITA for telling him to get out? OOP's comment. Top comment. Commenter, your sister didn't give you a heads up about his diet. OOP, honestly, no, she didn't. I'm not sure if she even knew how serious he was about the whole keto thing because she never mentioned it. She eats pretty much anything, so I assumed he was the same. But even if she had, I feel like it still would have been polite for him to at least say something beforehand instead of just showing up with his own meal. I would have happily made something keto-friendly if I had known. There is no consensus bot on AITA, but top comments were NTA update post, September 21st, 2024, 6 days later. Well y'all, buckle up because things have escalated in a way I never expected. After my initial post, I figured things would calm down once my sister had time to cool off. Spoiler alert, they did not. So the day after I told Steve to leave, my sister texts me saying they want to talk things through at a family dinner. I assumed it would be just the three of us, maybe at a neutral restaurant, where we could hash it out like adults. Nope. Instead, my sister invites my parents, my brother, and Steve's parents to this dinner at my parents' house, turning it into some kind of weird intervention. I show up thinking it'll just be a casual conversation, but the moment I walk in, Steve's mom, let's call her Carol, is already going off about how Steve has always had special dietary needs, and how people who care about him should respect his boundaries. The woman acts like the guy has a life-threatening allergy, not a trendy diet. My mom is sitting there looking super uncomfortable, while my dad's just quietly sipping his beer, clearly wishing he were anywhere else. So Carol starts listing off Steve's dietary restrictions and she's acting like I personally offended the whole keto community by serving pasta. Then, brace yourselves, Carol pulls out a folder. Yes, a literal folder, with printouts. She hands one to me, one to my mom, and one to my dad. I'm flipping through this thing and it's full of Steve's dietary guidelines, suggested meal plans, and even a list of keto-friendly restaurants we could go to in the future. At this point, I'm doing everything I can not to laugh, but it gets worse. Steve pipes up and says he's willing to forgive me for disrespecting his lifestyle, if I agree to host a redo dinner where I follow his dietary restrictions to the letter. He says this will prove I'm serious about making amends and respecting his needs going forward. I thought he was joking, but no, he was dead serious. He even pulled out his phone to show me some keto recipe apps that I might find helpful. I was in total shock. My sister, by the way, said absolutely nothing during all of this. Just staring at her plate like she wanted to disappear. My mom, bless her, tries to smooth things over by suggesting we all just eat whatever we want when we're together, but Carol snaps, "It's not that simple." She says that in their family, they all follow keto together. And that's why Steve is so passionate about it. At this point, I've had enough. I stood up and said, "Look, I'm not redoing the dinner. I'm not making anyone a special keto feast. If Steve can't eat what I cook, that's fine, but bringing his own meal to my dinner without even telling me was disrespectful, and I'm not apologizing for feeling that way." And then, this is where it gets absolutely bonkers. Steve's dad stands up, points at me and says, "This is exactly why Steve doesn't trust women to understand him. They always make it about themselves." The whole room went silent. My dad finally spoke up saying, "I think it's time for you all to leave," and started walking toward the door, basically escorting Steve's parents out. Steve and my sister stayed behind, but Steve was furious. He started yelling about how families should support each other, and then accused me of trying to sabotage their relationship because I'm jealous of what they have. At that point, I just walked out and left the whole mess behind. Here's the kicker, though. A couple of days later, my sister called me and told me she and Steve were taking a break because she needed time to think. Apparently, this whole keto fiasco was the last straw in a long list of controlling behavior from Steve. She didn't realize just how bad it was until the whole family saw it play out at dinner. She even told me that Steve had been trying to get her to follow his diet for months, but she was hiding snacks in her car just to get a break from all the keto madness. So now, Steve's gone full radio silent, my sister is staying with me for the time being, and I'm still getting passive-aggressive texts from Carol about how hurt Steve is, and how he's just misunderstood. Honestly, I'm just glad my sister is finally seeing how controlling this guy was. TLDR, Steve's keto obsession led to a full-blown family intervention where his mom handed out dietary guidelines, and now my sister is taking a break from him because she realized how controlling he is. I discover father-in-law is a pedophile, decide to divorce after wife defends him and shuns sister who spoke out. Original post, my wife Jessica, 32F, and I, 30M, have been married for 2 years and are trying for a baby. Jessica has an older sister, Mary, that she isn't close to. She told me that they had a huge falling out over some family drama and just don't speak anymore. I asked a few times about the entire situation, but she would say she doesn't like talking about it and doesn't think it's important. It was Jessica's brother's birthday yesterday and we were all over at his house to celebrate. Mary made an appearance and there was a lot of drama. Long story short, she called Jessica and her brothers out for still associating with their dad when they know that he is a child molester. No one was paying her any mind and I was really confused on what the hell was going on. When Mary left and Jessica and I went home, I asked Jessica what the hell happened. She said that when they were kids, Mary used to claim that their dad used to molest her. I asked if it's true and Jessica was stuttering a lot. She said she knows her dad used to do bad things but that Mary cut them all off when she turned 18 and moved out. I asked if she's admitting that she knows her dad was a child molester and did things to his own daughter. She said he doesn't do it anymore and he was just in a really bad place in his life, and he apologized to Mary so there's nothing else anyone can do for Mary. I was honestly appalled. I also feel so terrible for Mary. Jessica made it seem like Mary did something wrong and deserved to be basically exiled from the family. I could have never imagined that this is what happened. I asked if she expects me to now be willing to have that man around our future children and she started shouting at me, saying I'm judging him off something that happened 2 decades ago and whether I like it or not, he is going to be our child's grandpa and he will be in their lives. I said if she insists on it, I think we need to hold off on having kids and have serious conversations about it. She's extremely angry at me but I don't know how I could better react to be honest. This feels like a huge deal that she is minimizing. AITA, relevant comments. Commenter, NTA and run? Please talk to someone from RAIN. They are an organization for victims of sexual assault. This is not something minor like occasionally being crabby with your kids on the mornings you have a migraine. This is a crime. I know a victim of child sexual abuse and many years later and thousands of dollars in therapy, this woman is still hurting. You need to get out now. OP, I wish I could accurately describe how Mary looked and sounded when she was going off on her siblings that day. It actually sent shivers down my spine. She looked so angry but so defeated at the same time. All while they were all looking at her like she was crazy. I still can't wrap my head around it. I want to reach out to her and check if she's alright but I don't know how appropriate that will be. Commenter, NTA, someone who has glossed over child molestation. Would she want to leave a future child of yours with grandpa for the night? That's chilling. And once you have kids, even if you divorced her for this later, you couldn't get full custody over this, if grandpa never went to prison for it and isn't a convicted sex offender. It's awful all the way around. I can't believe you've been married 2 years before you even heard this story. OP, that's exactly what I was thinking. He never went to prison. Never been reported to the police at all and there's no proof of what he did so I would have no case and no power to keep him away from our children. I don't want to feel helpless about what happens to my children. I don't want to fail them like that. I don't think I should even have them with her at any point now that this has all come to light. Commenter, and I bet she did everything she could to hide this from him their whole relationship. OOP, I think this is a huge part of why I'm so angry at her. She had so many opportunities to tell me. There are instances where she had to have actively gone out of her way to keep this entire thing from me. And if Mary hadn't shown up to their brother's birthday party, I would have still been in the dark. Top comment, pedophiles rarely retire. Update. It's been nearly a year since my initial post so I thought I would give an update. A few days after my original post, I sat Jessica down and told her how I was feeling. I told her I'm not okay with what she and her family had done to Mary. They knew what their dad had done to her but still chose to take his side and make Mary look crazy. I told her I'm also not okay with brushing her father's crimes under the rug. She was quiet and didn't say anything. She didn't try to defend herself or her family. She was just staring at me in a very chilling way. Almost like she was indifferent to whatever I had to say and just wanted it to be over. I told her I needed time to myself and I would leave and think about what I wanted to do. Suddenly she was paying attention. She seemed shocked and panicked. She started begging me not to leave, saying I'll get over it in a few days when we get back to how we usually are and things settle down. She said all families have skeletons in their closet and that this can't define our marriage. I said no and I left the house for a few days. I ignored all her calls and those of her family. I reached out to Mary on Facebook. I wrote her a lengthy message about how I had no idea all she had been through and that I'm so sorry for how her family treated her. I told her to reach out to me if she ever needs anything. She got back to me and asked if we could meet for coffee. We met up the day after. At first it was small talk, then she asked if I would be okay if she told me her version of events. I said of course I would, and she spoke to me about it. Everything her dad did and how her family treated her after she told them. I felt physically sick. She even told me stories about how Jessica told her friends that Mary has a mental condition that causes hallucinations, and that just in case Mary starts rumors about their family, that's why. A lot of people still believe Mary has a mental condition because of Jessica. I knew after that talk that I had to end things with Jessica. I went over to our house and told her I want a divorce. I told her I cannot stand the thought of being her husband and a part of their disgusting family. All she did was cry and ask all this for her. I knew then that she hadn't changed. She was still the same person that did all of those things to Mary, and she was still doing them. We're still not officially divorced, but we haven't been together since, and we are going through the process. It's just taking longer than I thought to get it finalized. Mary and I became friends. I invited her to a birthday dinner my family was hosting for me, and she hit it off with my cousin. He's crazy about her, and she seems really happy with him too. He keeps asking me if it would be too early to propose, and I have to tell him to not scare her away, lol. But they have a really wholesome relationship and I'm really happy for them. As for me, I'm just surviving. Divorces are tough, but I know I made the right choice. Thank you to everyone that responded and gave me advice. I really appreciate it. Lab partner mocks me for being short, so I brought a measuring tape to set the record straight. Now he's embarrassed and denying everything. Original post. I am a 5'1" female and my lab partner constantly makes fun of me for being short. For example, I came back from the bathroom and he said I thought you fell in the toilet because you're so tiny. He also said that my hair is so big it makes my head and me look even more tiny. I am not insecure about my height nor does making fun of it offend me, but it's annoying and ironic because he's short too, looks 5'6". And yes, I know it might be because he's interested in me, but I don't find him attractive, so the teasing isn't cute, it's just very annoying. Last lab I had enough of it and basically told him to shut up because he's like 5'5". He said he's not 5'5" and he's 5'9". I know I am very short, but he is definitely not over 5'7". We started arguing about it, so I told him I'll bring a measuring tape next class and we'll find out the truth. I started to feel a bit bad after because I know men are very insecure about their height. However, him obviously lying about his height and constantly making fun of me makes me in the mood to be petty. Will bringing the measuring tape make me an asshole? Edit. I accidentally put F22 in my title, for my lab partner. To correct myself, I am female 20 and my lab partner that makes fun of me is male 22. More explanation as to what he says. Editor's note, fix the title of the Boru for clarity. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter. NTA, he's finally found someone shorter than him and it makes him feel superior. If he can't take it, he shouldn't dish it out. OP, do you think me bringing the measuring tape will make me the asshole? Commenter. NTA. Bring in the measuring tape and a big, black Sharpie. Don't say a word to him. Go to the door frame and mark 4, 5s and 6. Between the 5 and 6 foot marks, place the inches. Remember how parents used to measure kids' heights against the wall for the door frame and leave marks for little Susie is so tall on October 31st and Ben is so tall on the same date. Don't say another word to him, just leave the measuring marks so he has to look at them every day as he passes by the chart. Keep direct eye contact with him whenever he walks by it. OP. I'm rolling with laughter. Thank you for this idea. I'm definitely going to do this. I was planning on just measuring him, but the marks on the wall would be more accurate. I don't know if I would be allowed to draw on the wall with a Sharpie though. I may do it with a washable marker instead. Commenter. NTA, he shouldn't dish it if he can't take it, but I don't know that it'd help to escalate with the tape if you'll still need to work with him. Can you switch partners? OOP, no, I can't switch my partner. This is my assigned partner for the rest of the semester. Thankfully I only have 3 classes left. Commenter, downvoted. He's definitely trying to flirt with you IMO. He wants to emphasize how small you are because it makes him feel bigger and he's probably not used to that LOL. He wants to make it clear that compared to him you're just cute and small. He's obviously insecure about his own height. I do think being short has wildly different implications for men and women, but it's not like you decided to do this after he made an offhand comment. You're clearly annoyed by this and he's being disruptive and kind of desperate by not shutting the fuck up about it. Measuring tape might be the exact tool you need to show him why this kind of shit is very bad for him LOL. OP. I think so too, which is why I was hesitant to say anything. I didn't want to make him more insecure. I don't think he means it in a harmful way, but it's just annoying because he mentions it every single lab. However, last class he kept making inappropriate comments about our other lab partner and I getting married and having babies. That really crossed the line for me. I gave him a death stare and told him to stop in all seriousness, because the comments he was making were just making things awkward and uncomfortable. He chose not to listen and keep going thinking he was funny. After that I lost all respect for him. Commenter, haha. I had a guy worked with once who insisted he was 5'8". I literally said we're the exact same height, and I'm 5'3". Dude had the audacity to say someone had lied to me because I was obviously 5'7" or so. NTA, don't let their fragile masculinity bother you. Measure that boy. OEUP, this is absolutely hilarious. This guy said the same thing, that I must be 5'5". So now I'm suddenly not short anymore, huh El Mayo? The audacity of these men to lie by a whole 4 inches thinking people won't notice is just embarrassing. OOP adds a bit more from his bullying. I'll tell you what I told the other person who said the same thing. To clarify, he also said, I thought you fell in the toilet because you're so tiny, when I got back because it took a while. He also said my hair is so big it makes my head and me look even more tiny. To add on, he repeatedly calls me shorty, or brings up my race saying my people are usually short. When I try to ignore him he just keeps repeating the same thing to annoy me and get a reaction. I love being short. So there's nothing to be sensitive about. It's him being annoying and making these comments to someone he barely knows, all the while he's also very short, that bothers me. Oh, and I'm bringing the tape. Update. Same post. Update. I got to class late because of traffic, so I didn't have time to tape it up. Also, there is no actual wall beside me, so nowhere I could really tape it. But I still measured him. I whipped my tape measure out and they started laughing at first because everyone knew what was about to go down. Before I measured him, he asked me what the margin of error was and said, that thing is 2-3 inches off. We both knew he lied at this point, LOL. But I insisted on measuring him and at first he didn't want to get measured. I told him to take his shoes off and he said he didn't want to. I said I'm subtracting an inch from the measurement then. He was 5'7" with the shoes on, so without them he's actually a little less. Even after I clearly measured him he kept denying it, saying it's wrong, that I measured him wrong and the tape measure is incorrect. He then looked up how tall is 67 inches, because he kept saying that must not be 5'7". I couldn't believe he kept denying it even though I clearly just measured him. His friend, in the lab group across from us, is about the same height as him and also lied about his height last time. So he was embarrassed too because they both were obviously lying. I made a joke about how the top 2 inches must be invisible and he wasn't too happy. Our lab TA 6'2" came over and asked what the measuring tape was for. I told him it was to measure his height, pointing to my lab partner. I said he lied and the TA started laughing too. Next week I'm thinking of just taping the measuring tape at the door before class so they're always reminded of it when they walk in. There's really nothing more I can do. We both know he lied even if he doesn't admit it. Editor's note. Marked as concluded. Since OOP hasn't updated and proved her point, everyone knows the kid was lying. Anna attacks me over fake disability. I recorded and posted the assault, now she lost everything, and her husband wants a divorce. I, 31F, was born with a severe genetic disease known as EDS, hypermobility type. This sickness varies significantly from person to person, with the majority living quite normal lives despite some discomfort and problems. EDS is essentially a series of illnesses caused by faulty collagen in the body, which causes a variety of symptoms, including joint hypermobility, which occurs when joints become so loose and unstable that they frequently dislocated or subluxated, partially dislocate. It also causes severe joint and soft tissue pain, chronic weariness, easy bruising, and dizziness due to sudden decreases in blood pressure while standing. About 11 years ago, my condition deteriorated substantially, and I had to begin using a wheelchair because walking more than 100 feet became unsafe owing to the risk of hip dislocation. In the last 3 years, I converted to an electric wheelchair because pushing a manual one was too difficult. For reasons I don't entirely understand, my aunt, 54F, has a strong disdain for disabled individuals, particularly those in wheelchairs who still have some leg mobility. For the last 11 years, whenever we were alone, she treated me like a dog. She argued that my condition was fabricated, stating that I made it up to divert attention and because I was envious of anyone else receiving attention, particularly her. I tried confronting her, but dealing with my sickness was already stressful. I kept her opinions to myself because I'm not aggressive and don't see her very often. I didn't want to burden anyone, especially since I was already asking so much from those around me. My parents were fatigued from all of the doctor appointments, so I overlooked my aunt's conduct. I had become accustomed to her rudeness and no longer cared about her opinions, until last week, when everything intensified. I went to see my aunt for our annual family dinner, which she had organized. Everything was going fine until she drank more than normal and became sarcastic at me in front of the family. Some family members confronted her, stating that her behavior was disrespectful and uncalled for. Throughout the evening, she silently fumed and stared at me. My parents noticed and kept a watch on her, but I chose to take a break from her stares by going into the kitchen on the other side of the house to take my prescription privately. My aunt followed me into the kitchen, closing the door behind her. I realized right once this wasn't good. She was obviously inebriated. I discreetly began recording the interaction on my phone. Even if I screamed, nobody would hear me because the door was closed and everyone else was talking loudly in the other room. She began by asking if I liked being an attention hog and ruining her supper by humiliating her. I carefully tried to propel my wheelchair toward the entrance while apologizing and explaining that this was not my goal. I tried to say what she wanted to hear, hoping to make it to safety. She began raising her voice, accusing me of being envious of her success and fabricating my problem out of laziness. She started calling me every name in the book and screamed rubbish at me. I began to cry, pleading with her to let me go as I suspected she was experiencing a mental breakdown. I realized I needed to leave, but I couldn't do it in my wheelchair, so I tried to get out of it. Unfortunately, she became furious and pushed me back into the chair forcefully. She screamed that she was not finished yet and that liars like me deserved to be given a lesson. She began punching me in the face as hard as she could, dislocating my jaw. Then she tried to drag me out of the chair, dislocating my arm, but I fought back, and she was unsuccessful. She managed to roll my wheelchair over onto its side, causing my foot to become jammed under the footrests. Fortunately, my father noticed my disappearance, as did my aunt, and became concerned. He began looking for me. Later, he informed me that I let out a blood-curdling scream that could be heard across the dining room, forcing him and my mother to race toward the sound. By this point, I was beginning to lose consciousness due to discomfort. I recall my father rushing through the door. According to what I was told, he body-slammed and punched my aunt, his younger sister, to keep her down. My mother yelled for someone to phone 911, and my nephew did it instantly. My mother then untied me from the wheelchair and attempted to recall her first aid training. Meanwhile, my father forced my aunt to the floor, leaving her husband in full amazement and unsure what to do. When the police and paramedics arrived, they handcuffed my aunt. She screamed at my father, wondering how he dared to touch a woman, particularly his sister. My uncle attempted to defend my aunt, claiming they had no idea what had happened and suggesting that I had tipped over while attempting to attack her. He stated that his wife would never do such a thing unless provoked. He supposedly said even worse things, but my parents won't tell me what. I regained consciousness at this time, most likely as a result of the severe pain medication, but everything was still blurry because the medicine had left me disoriented. I was carried away in an ambulance while my aunt was sent to jail. At the hospital, they discovered that I had several shattered ribs, a dislocated arm, and a dislocated jaw. The punches also resulted in a concussion, but the most serious injury was to my foot, which snapped. I had cuts and scratches all over my body since my skin is so thin. Fortunately, none of the injuries required surgery, but due to my disease, I'll be in a cast for at least 10 weeks, followed by physical therapy. My ankle will probably be irreparably ruined. I feel guilty about ruining her life. I've received several voicemails from various numbers, all with her yelling about how I ruined her life and most likely their finances. My uncle is attempting to salvage his name by sticking by her side, but this appears to be a temporary measure, since he now wishes to divorce her. A few family members are making me doubt whether I did the right thing, therefore I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong here. Yes, we are getting a restraining order and filing charges. The prospect of her pursuing me again is too much to take. Some folks have also puzzled how I received pain medication while unconscious. As I previously stated, I believe I recovered consciousness as a result of the pain medication, although I don't recall much owing to the discomfort. I'll ask my folks for more information as soon as I can. They're reluctant to discuss how they found me or what happened because they'd rather bury those memories than have them haunt me. The video of the attack was turned over to the authorities and has been backed up on numerous platforms. I'm also considering suing because my insurance covers legal fees. TLDR, my aunt admitted me to the hospital and badly wounded me because she suspected I was faking my genetic illness for attention. I recorded the entire attack and shared it online when they said I was lying and attacked her. Everyone in the family has cut all ties with her, including her church. Her husband wants a divorce. So am I the moron that posted the footage and ruined her life? Am I the asshole for asking my son to stop wearing his favorite jacket because it looks gay? Original post. I'm a single dad to my son, Oliver 10M. He's with me most of the time, and sees his mom every other weekend. He's an awesome kid, creative, full of energy, and he's got his own sense of style that's pretty unique. He loves bright colors, nail polish, and clothes that some people might think are more girly. If I'm honest, I think Oliver might be gay, and I'm totally cool with that. I've always made it clear that whoever he turns out to be, I'll support him 100%. Because of how he dresses and acts, Oliver's had a really tough time with other kids. He got bullied so badly at his old school that I ended up pulling him out and homeschooling him. The school wasn't helpful at all, and it was heartbreaking to see him go through that. He's struggled to make friends, and it kills me to see him feel so alone. Now, he's starting back at school in September, and he's really excited about it. But recently, we were at a cousin's birthday party, and Oliver wore his favorite jacket, which is a bright pink, sparkly one that he loves. Some of the other kids started picking on him, saying he looked gay. I stepped in, got the kids to apologize, but it ruined the day for Oliver. I'm worried about how things will go when he's back at school. I've been thinking about whether I should talk to Oliver about maybe toning it down a bit, especially when he's around new people. Not because I want him to change who he is, but because I hate seeing him get hurt and feel like an outcast. I don't want him to feel like he has to hide who he is, but I also don't want him to be picked on or excluded because of it. But then, I feel like a complete arsehole for even thinking about this. I don't want him to think that I'm ashamed of him or that he has to conform to be accepted. I want him to feel free to be himself, but I'm also scared of him being hurt by others who don't get it. So, would I be the asshole if I talked to Oliver about maybe being a bit more low-key with his style? Comments, from all 3 posts. Commenter, don't do it. Kids will still bully him and all he will remember is that you deterred him from expressing himself. Trust me, the same thing occurred in our house. I was trying to keep him from being bullied, but my child felt as though I didn't accept him and that he needed to pretend he was something he wasn't. Lots of later life therapy. If he's gay, if he's straight, let him be himself and tell him as long as he likes his clothes, that's all that matters. Sincerely, the mom of an amazing queer kid. OOP. I get that, but at the same time it is so heartbreaking seeing the same thing happen to him over, and over, and over again. Commenter, Jesus, where do you live? Most kids don't care about this kind of thing these days. OOP, I live in the West Midlands of England. I honestly don't think your point about most kids not caring is at all accurate. I see it every day. Commenter. Do not dull his shine because other people don't understand him. I understand it may be coming from a place of protection, but it needs to be addressed with the potential aggressors, not with forcing your son to change who he is. OOP, but when you can't do anything more with potential aggressors. I have done, and will continue to do everything I can. But sadly I can't literally watch his back 24/7, even though I would if I could. Anytime he has a comment made to him he breaks his little heart and it is so devastating seeing him go through that again and update. Hey all, it's been about 26 days since my original post, and I thought I'd give an update now that Oliver has had his first week back at school. I can happily say that so far, things are going much better than I'd hoped. Over the summer, Oliver and I had a really important heart-to-heart. I sat him down and told him just how incredibly proud I am of the person he is becoming. I made sure he knew that there is absolutely nothing he could ever do that would change the way I see him or make me love him any less. Honestly, it was a bit emotional, and I even got a bit choked up. I told him that if wearing his favorite jacket, the one that's caused some hurt before, made him happy, I'd stand behind him 100%. But I also wanted to make sure he was prepared. I explained that, while I'll always be there for him, I can't always be around to protect him. And he might have to stand up for himself if kids make fun of him. I made it clear that this doesn't mean he should change anything about who he is, but that he needs to be ready to handle it if anyone says anything cruel. Oliver understood, and we spent the summer coming up with some playful comebacks together. He really wanted to take the jacket with him to school, so we made it a bit of a project, imagining the kind of things kids might say and crafting witty replies that he could fire back with. It was actually pretty fun, and I think it helped him feel more confident about it. Now back to school. His new teacher knows all about his past struggles with bullying, and she's been amazing. She's keeping a close eye on things and making sure he feels safe and comfortable. It's made such a difference already, and Oliver's first week couldn't have gone better. He's even made a friend, a boy named Sam, and they've really hit it off. They're planning to meet up tomorrow at the wacky warehouse, and Oliver can't stop talking about it. It's been a long time since I've seen him this excited about spending time with someone his age. I know it's still early days, but seeing him come home happy and smiling each day has been such a relief. Thanks to everyone who gave advice and encouragement on my original post. I really took a lot of it to heart, and I think it made a big difference in how I approached all this. Update 2. Hey, I just wanted to hop on and give a small update about Oliver's playdate over the weekend. Firstly, when Oliver was getting ready, he wanted to wear all his flamboyant clothes. He asked me if I thought it was a good idea. His friend had seen him in his jacket, but he was a little worried how he would react to the full Oliver. I told him to wear whatever he wanted, and if this friend was worth being friends with, they would accept him for exactly how he is. This made Oliver smile. He wore his full Oliver outfit. When we were walking in, I could feel Oliver getting a bit nervous. He was bullied so much in his last school for how he was, so I understood why. I held his hand tight and gave it 2 squeezes. This means I love you, something I learned to teach him from Reddit actually. The friend's dad was with him and he looked at Oliver and gave a little curious look, but apart from that it was fine. The boy said he loved Oliver's clothes. They spent about 4 hours playing, and we ended up eating together. On the way home, I told Oliver how proud I am of the little man he is. I am so proud of how he is so willing to be himself, and so brave to continue despite any backlash he gets. I love him so much. This is my final update on this account. I don't know if I'll ever show you these posts, Oliver. Maybe in a few years when you're older, so we can laugh at how worried I was about you. Your dad is so proud of you. I think you are the most amazing person in the whole world. Even when you drive me absolutely nuts. I am so lucky to get to be your father. I am so lucky you are in my life. I love you.